Your mama nyina Mama Kwaba no twa ponsema enkono aha aye United Television. Your studios are a worship house of Junction and no pay. Uhwe yen edi efri. Jumedi ni din aye critical issue. Ye no motena fi sabia kopem se bebo anopai duba ko dohwere miensa ana ye di bebedi enkomo ti bebia obia na kan ho e. Ne nyina ye ntena ne nto ato adwene. Wo ka bia na msoma ka bi, wo kire wadwene msoma kire madwene. Ye nyina kire adwene be wi ase de ye wo mu no na yafa ne yetumi de abo ma nkanko ene ne kire bidin ade Agya Kwabena anopai se da kwama special eyes nsuyo ebi na simanimu yi nso kurugye ahoden ahye ne mma metro no manu abiwai na be bo pa san se processes e performance de gutu am no sahye mu no enya agoro nti de wotu am no and the sahye mu no me kire special eyes no ne nyina yesu okro no a and a special drink no so flavors ne bebre and say yiyo ne nema hodo bebre ho abedin to ne ayefro ne nema bebre na yenso ebetina fie enko babia nso nti nya special drink ni bia na ja wo dia 4 minimum ebeboa pa this chocolate drink and the coffee drink nso no pa ebubi esan se eboa ma ni pedua no so original ne na so anopa bia hiti body do ama body no to be yadwuma kama pa do anwumre nso a na se wadidi na se bia na dwo no nya bibi kakra de 4 minimum anka opa no this way no franko anko yekese this fufu so de digesting tem enyina ho nche bebre ntem ma enuenura nipadua ne hia no ecosystem no mu ntem de anya no rim na be senko enti di need fufu ma me na need abekon so de kurasa be ne de ya no so no enyuma kuedo ma sha no paper se wo mu esu emu abrebia na ena no pay ye bedi nkomo kakra na mpesa me no na di nkomo no bebia wo bia no ye bedi nkomo ne pa na yankane ho nsam no ekosen bebi atie no ekosen ekoyi sese no esesa ana say it getting worse asem na maybe sawo say unkane ho nsam no ekosen ekoyi sese no hu different changes be say changes be eba ana say de tie no anete ana so say kwa na ekofom menka me area no abaka say bia me na meka me de answer berepa mama waka wo de oka wo de wi na bibia no me so wo no say de tie no me so maka kire na ena no pay asembe kame asembe hyeme so na ebehia se yegina adwendwene ho kakra esan se enipa nkwa wasam ne yeka se asembe ama yetumi nyina so entu anamon bi yeso ahwease ni ho a ankosore eni ho sasa mo yenhya no so pa se ahwease ni ho a ankosore eni ho enti ho behia se bibia ye bia no bebia ye to sini no na ho no yahwe ne asiesie no na tumi aboa ma niam akose de sesi ko sembe kaya afia mu ka bo abrantie bi ema hit and run driver na nyina na ekobai se wo mu di ni chi ambulance di ni chi hospital sa wo Ghana ha nyina nkra ha nyina yesimpa ni ho na abrantie ne ka baby sembe ka hu sam sore pa na ebobo na homete sa zibi tumi atome ebetumi ato wonso ye ka ho nsam a ye ho bebi akosi enya ne ntie se ka so ampotem wo oba okọ awo so ono so okoye a ya pai no se de esizere ni ya ne nasefo ya same kaki de coat ono so to woko awbe hia sedu baby a yema de ya famu da no yema nipa hu ebeboa pa apom de adwuma yefo ye de nsamo da bi na momumu binom ne ya woye no it's high time say mo twe omu binom aso na boa se na be yo kina bi obi ba on kasa eye normal da bi mini experience ni bi oh baby am off ase no yare akwada yam omunumunu enfo mo ho kra so on train kakra till say of sabi obi didi no pon cheme of fear pum ansa no mo sorry na no mpo say no musika sakasa no na nye you are there for a purpose so be saving crofon kwa entani ye say be obi achi da bi na mo no experience ye nyina ye nya no ye cha ebeboa na mampanifo na ebi ho no wo mu nta da hu de ekoso no omudo omuni ato form ahwe sanye bia de amanfo ka no eye no kore esa sa dwuma bia no ya omara ne hihye wo mu sa niam bia nkoye wo dwuma no bu adwuma ne mara so a sa so twi bi ho ane de ama na yentwe ne pa bia so na mo sa de be yo chi na bi ne nkonkoba se wo de okọ so tira normal ye de ensa ka ona senior hey ye de ensa ka doctor hey ye de ensa ka engineer hey meanwhile bia no nipa na di bone wa ye niam bia ensen fata awu hia se to bi di san komo no enti na no pay ensama hodo mienu ye beka wasam kakra na febri pamu no ya de sese ye enti ye fa lines no to prince mo fa ahoma no to na ye hwe ni mahodo mienu light no ekosan e obebi awo na fe no achi nso de ameka ho asem no when experience bi a let's share it ye nche na ye hwe kwan betumi afa so wo mu se niema wo hi akade ne shede ni ho papa de but at least some death are avoidable. Some of the death are avoidable. Say anka ebia health professionals no e de o madwene e ko so kakra e de boan ya bi di say anka be yi pa sense nipa nkwa wasam e na ye ka. I remember there was a time interview bi ko so na health professional bi asem bi na no kan ye on air no e ma me hu say there be en sheda nkwa me pese mabodi di na marekọ masan akai enkrofo e sense ba ni sa na eye ayi bibia ho kakra enti ye bedi nkoma no pe enti ne meto ama na wonso dia wonso wo woka e wo nkoma na ye pe ye die hu no wonso de wadwen kire aba experience a wonya wonka ne na ekosan and I feel hospital no so ne ma ko sen abusuan wo hwero mo de hye e wo sa to renche mu no ye mo hye papa papa okay hello good morning
Agya Kwabena.
Yeah, Bukari, who frame me free here?
Bajaye Bukari Abdul Karim
yo. Who frame me free?
Bajam kaza free kaswa.
Yo.
Bajo say light in one and better mukamu ata mukakra. The say no the na dum light na say jina zo kakra. The bomb the tempe for be share because enyama koyi a ekoyi me na nti e bomb pa e we e nyina ko ni nyina ya sadie nti e bomb pa e na otime we light in MPP na NDC nti e bomb pa e say obitime aya managina so wa na enyina e ho atoe nti say no ka so be bond dey say dey agina so ama me pa say dey omudum ni kan kwa ba nti bia na o mata so ba nearly 3 days there agina so sa dey be do o mate
dey that say Abdul Karim dey fika so na ba e na so e bibia wo no so what say ye ni nkomo no pay e bia na panyifo na adwene nkoso nti kan na celebrity so mo ka UTV say aha de ni hyeda anya dwuma papa na wo so ma hwe na omo de oni akọ e de amam gidi say Osofo kwate ma chi en
Mejo so bro
Sofo na na no pay wo fra bi free he
me free wo free cipher
jo
enkomo da pono so na me pese me de ma dwen chere kata eba
yo
no kwaste mu ni ebra so se me kasa se e Christopher wo memo ye de amanye semo no ya di hia de se ya se as a Christopher mone amanye semo initiate partisan de ho de yenko but politics there ye dada brabo do so no e kan sofo e kan kremofo e kan obia se obi kwa yarehwe na bibi tochima na nema nkoye nipa hwere ne nkwa oni party color bia iti no mamuma asofo ene Christopher ye nkase politics there a no go zone area yemfa ye hunhyem ite ye jaine sa when you come na ebe ha gain ye ene ma keka kono iti ma gain check akra no
ye da se sofo kwate ye da se pi na no pay na ye nkoda honya e ho na Moses wo Moses machi Moses
hello
machi
ya jawo
aha na da honya te sai
da honya boko me se me kaka ne no wa kakra
okay
ase videne di ase ajan kakra
o light no
ase ajan so kakra ajan so nkobium
okay
then see say simple for so mo hu di nti akane ne yesa se bia be boy why
okay
okay
yenya kaso se agina so da honya so se agina so enti wo so e bia hefa na so wo na ba me so mi hu bebi a so wo se wo so de no agina so ana se no so ebu da ni prepare se na me bu mani ai na ni nkomo na yehwesi aha menu abi fi Kumasi hello Oga
hello
Machie
ya Agya Kwabena
na Kumasi boko
na ko pardon ahaboko
Kumasi fa na wo
ya jawo
ma TV ni ko fom
Matiboko
ma TV ni ko fom ma TV ni ko fom ni team phone mu
we kasa free asonse
okay
Agya Kwabena you see the say
aha mitie kasa
aha we dey make kasa kakrafa kani asem no say kani ano ami say sisi idea abano aye say o yi gofo bi edi no ejina kakra because say na esi ye ni de na ha adwini pa nti e be tire obi a o won sa o sadi no bia no onya nemwa on because e nyina anye ti tire o man no abi e be boa me atima survival life no ni say didi agro ti e be tire o mo yesa no so munya nye nyina ya man no etupon
okay
Agya Kwabena ni nyakopanya djuma
me da sipebre organ de Kumasi se Kumasi so ejina ho yenko takra de ho na ban ni wo ban ni machi bani
hello
ukasa wa chiri
we takra de dem kasa mpocho ya jira sabu no kwa ai ka ho agen ndi keke ya wa chira ba na ti da ya mu se oyi ko ho o se yaka onya o se yaka ndi mi obiara de Ghana pina de ya ba ko e fam ya o ma lo me ko ko de project do se ya de ye na ya go ya pe ndi MPP na nche ya ne ya hwere o mo no ba ko da na me tempe ku de be ya tra dem tempe mu no ayo ba no won hwere won so ne na ya wo tren ntale pe ma ta me
ena se yankwadwo so ho na ama wo ama machi
Bacho eja waje kwa
na hu ti se anopai
bacho me hoya na wase
adumo ama yeti o
ibacho ebasa ne kasa oh kaya
ama
hello
aha na yeti o kasa
ibacho se de na mi adum se from there Thursday back in na mi adum kania di jina se kama nti bibia ya koso yani kana mbeso
all right yes say yenya dweso yenya Kumasi yenya dahonya yenya takrade yenya kasoa enti enfa bi ese ko vote aba kun so ko hwese what say na ye ko bono ane bono ne na ke kaka ho na fe ye hwe say ye binya ne pere bi aka ho ananka na hwe wo kan ne na agina so ana say bo na ni pre say da mebubu mani ya okay Richmond Machi Richmond Machi
yeah, meow.
aha wo de ni free he
You made any fiat motor. I got a fiat motor Kingsby.
okay what to say
Oh, now I say, just look at crab. You go Nanka first, no. And Nanka shoot to Anka Mambo and can shoot a Commodumuno. But I'm not shoot to the Lumuno. And you just look at crab.
okay
Is that the essay first?
okay let us see yan coffin so na yan NC kwasi machi
Agya Kwabena
na bia boko
ya mi adum bia boko
ma he no ho ye
ya mi adum bia ho ye
yo what to say kania no ekoyi na ebubu de ni pre sa
Agya Kwabena fe so die nwanwa before I say do so conference no muta dum like nim de koso offense you nim de koso Agya Kwabena
enti so na no offense de sa de tie ne sa na tie
ta na tie Agya Kwabena ta na tie
all right okay so wakan panyifo ni tie omo hwe nti anamo bi eso mutu bia no won betu dia fa ho nti ya da se papa na no pay offense na no so de free nti betumi aka se court akrade na ekoyie be ye 3 days ni dia say I stable Kaswa say stable Dahonya say stable Kumasi I stable Jeso I stable and Achimota Kingsby also I stable at least it's been from 5-6 different places just say ejina suti yɛbɛdi ho nkɔmmɔ deɛ yɛkɔba yɛbɛdi ho nkɔmmɔ nti saa ne yɛbɛyɛ no nti yɛntwɛn ho tiawa na yɛmmra yɛba na afei yɛne yɛbɛdwafo ahyɛ ase di nkɔmmɔ ɛnɛ yɛn nkɔmmɔdie no bɛfa yɛsi kasam toto yɛn ho paa ɛsiane sɛ IMF a yɛkɔɔ mu no wɔman Ghana yɛsesɛsɛ ne yɛade yɛn ho ɛnya de yɛbɛkɔ IMF yɛno ho to nkwata yɛpae yɛfiri mu na yɛbisa ho sɛ yɛbɛtumi agyina yɛn nan so ama Ghana yɛsi kasam atumi agyina sɛdeɛ agyina yɛ anaa na ɛyɛ asɛm hia papapapapa ne ahwɛ Bank of Ghana nso losses bi ɛkɔ so wɔ ho nsɛm a dɔmkuma ka ho asɛm a ne nsɛm ahodoɔ bi ɛno nso yɛ nsɛm a yɛbɛhwɛ ne yɛdi ɛno nso ho nkɔmmɔ siane sɛ ne nyinaa yɛ sikasɛm yɛn nkɔmmrɛ nyinaa no a lajan yɛ sika yi a ɛno ne yɛde bɛkɔ de bɛba na afei ɛnyinam ahoɔden nsɛm a yɛdi ho nkɔmmɔ nso no ɛno nso yɛbɛdi ho nkɔmmɔ kakra na yɛahwɛ yɛkwaeɛ nso sɛdeɛ si kɔ forestry commission foɔ sɛ yɛma ɔmo owu na yɛma ɔmo akodeɛ sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a nipa bɔnefoɔ a tutu hyɛ wɔn adwumayɛfoɔ so no obetumi ahwɛ na wɔn atu wɔn so sa nti saa nkɔmmɔ yi yɛtwa ho ba a yɛbɛdi nti mo twɛn yɛba sisi a Adeshimama ye mama chibio sama makwa ba bio afei ye bedi enkomo no na ansa na medama bedwafo adi no ye bekọ ama no so na ye ne Dr. Richmond atua hene edi enkomo kakra opani ye ka na samu ye kasikasam wa bin wo mu papa na me kasa no kan bi se o man Ghana ye ne IMF kwa apam na ye hye IMF nhyehyɛ ase na otwi ahyase ya ena o man sana hene ene IMF wo hye Ghana ha na some de to omanim say no yesi kasam no ejina nanan so na yedi bone na wa ma no ne yetumi nya bese ne nyina no eno so asesa sese no niam ekwenti yefi IMF nhyehyɛ na se yakwa IMF mpre beboro edunum yakwa be se dunwotwe mpo yakwa makomako dunwotwe yakwa ne aba this time around no turning point yakwa ye mabio na Dr. Tua ni betumi akirikire betumi aboa yo sase mu pa nti doka no pay ma wachi
minia
na mpacho apo mu
nyame adom mi chia watiefo nyane mpanyimfo no mo hia ho nyame nhira wo mososo
yesu ya da wase papa ne wo mere sa wo de ache na no pay me sra wo me yehye semfan free ha before IMF ne ye be sa meeting ya yesi yahwe ho afree IMF hyehyɛ ase no na o do wadi to form a na esi kasam na ekosan
well obekaya 2022 yenya na yepagya ya ho enyo bi no so yen so yenya na yepagya ya ho ne yesi yebekọ yenko ye wo ho MCQ no mu no mpagya ho za afedi yebekọ ene yekoye na zata na esi kasam o hwe your reserve position na ye 1.7 billion na kese senka o krania ma na otwi mi sika na ne ye wo nti ne niam so nkoye inflation adia tesemu ne niam nkoye nti wo ampe manyofo no se ene former finance minister yes ye beko na wo mabeboa yen atene niam na ye pagya ye ho koye nti eno de ewu hia kse ye beka nkyerɛ because obviously wala yen tele wana yen kankyerɛ because with that GDP ratio which was close to 103%. Nti na it is a wuta ho ba bi ntwa nti yenya na yepagya ye ho ene yesa kokoto a 18 ene yakọ 18 nti sana ekobae
ba wo hwe the current administration ba ye ntutu ahodo o maye hyehyɛ ahodo o maye a ye ka se kyerɛkyerɛmu a wogidi sa okwamofo aso a inflation omo se akofam exchange rate akofam ne ma ahodo se de esi asesa no wo hu ni sai ne kwan so ano no
me da se ofa aman no didi kan twa mu no ono share saade yase if so ko IMF asidi a omo woni ma ye hyehyɛ ma wo nti omo na hye ase seriously gold reserves inflation operation ni ade a ye kan nyina enya nora na obi na hye ase na du amanyo na di kan no na hye ase be omo hye ase no na we no mbae na ono mbae no so omo de niam na bi atoto na kwan mu yie amade en omo hye ase dada no akọ nanim because omo to kwan mu which is a gold purchase reserve 2021 and Dr. Addison no sign minia madam for ana me yonku bai obai ono so etwa so Dr. Siama bai no watwa so yie ama ene amayen reserves no ukaya the last time I hear na 14.5 billion dollars which is 5.8 month interest CD so ejina ne na so because you tia reserves no ne ade you building reserves you hear inflation so inflation first you start na 54 and a drop about 23.8 na 23.8 ndi etia ma Bank of Ghana for ka won ka nkofo pinti ase ne se adwumati a abandada ne share na omo bai na omo de omo be shire mu kinayi ye free bibi omo operation na se ne se na sika ewo omane mu do so sin adwuma ewo mane mu ye can when money there's too much excessive liquidity and excessive cash more than the country's gross national product nti e ba na inflation no to omo bai na omo designing omo share omo na o hodada na omo ye say sa na e beti e dia musumi you may be 15 days you may be 28 you may be 56 you may be 90 said you be you betimi atwe sika no every system no e kwan ba ko omo ye no e kwan ba ko so a de odi kan no Abanda dani di kan ye ni say or increase cash reserve. You can't have an for cash reserve for every 100 cedis a bank collects, any bank, commercial bank or any bank collects. You move 15% near the two Bank of Ghana. Make his account 85. Now, one who says he can also need to over 2 wishes share would be count. If you are bound whereby I know, Debbie, say, would the dollar or the dollar never to or would you see the out of it? You wouldn't see Sika, a free Sika, do a call man, a free, I'm inflation about down. And until a man, who share, Omo can see aggressive Omo operations and repurchase any monetary policy. Ama cost na go do 16.9 billion. Omo kasa aye loss no. Na the India, a man aye loss no, na na mention what there.
Okay.
2022. So a man of 2022. And you pay your call bank, your call. IMF was here, Pamacho, my boy. Omo I know say Namono are buying bonds no, Mukuta 48.5 billion. Now Rebecca GDP no one year. It's a Cobas and Bank of Ghana when shed any asset. Only bonds be as an asset. It's a person we operations are. Unya Yibia instrument Yibia or the back at the eye. It's a Cobas say, Sadiana Equoyeno. And my Bank of Ghana is sick as so about from Nangonia interest every year. No, 13 average 13 billion every year. But the acquired GDP, they have lost it. It's a loss in as a loose investment. It is also acquire Omwa, wouldn't be all over. Into a Coba said, when you said, you did cano, you know, you said, you bear inflation ever down. Indeed, a year before fraud, a idea, a war that. It will be something, and all kind of physical discipline. So, yeah, there was a time, I think 2023 or whatever, the physical deficit was 7.9 billion percent of the GDP, 7.9% of the GDP. And about 2023, about 2.9. You see, I mean, say, a penny, ya mobusiano, mara moroso, yenya surplus of 2.6% of the GDP. Ura at all forcing the kind. And this is saying, what you say, yes, a shame physical discipline. You're saying, you must say, won't tell you, man, I won't ya. You say, what the media say, so out district and out metropolitan episode Ibibia. Fabra Mamma improve once, and for your point, and what the culture and say, my point in Tivincha. Nigina measures Nibia, Amma or Mano, Sikasem, and any physical, monetary and the physical are actually working as the IMF is about to.
All right. Yabako IMF which is no so but yen say kakra because I the Bank of Ghana inti na me so me say yen fa kakra no. There is this controversies aba obi eka don kuma no eka say Bank of Ghana boka na eka na obo ne modu o ma hihye ne maye inti na bank ayesa na obi o won chen o no nim skase mu tutuye no na adwemu ai ni hey sa eka waboka eka na boy no waboka hunu obi se me boka hunu na sefo no doc e dey apa ne wom
masama mekane say the kind man obi be si obi ni be si historical antecedent yekai started 2022 that time ye lost 60.8 billion Bank of Ghana ye lost the following year 10.6 the following year 9.1 and you have 15.6 inti ekano enye car obi betini agina ba bi ka say asimesi ne boboy would call 60 and about 10.5 and they call 9 and as I go 15 inti obi ntimi nyina ba bi na de ye me ya me kama sa man fo no wa me sre o when it comes to these facts and data, we are if we say, maybe I trinity say pitiful, the trinity say pitiful. We say, over liberty, baby, as some of us, most of them will money more. Or because an go for and grow much as here. If we say 60 billion, 60.8, 2022, 2024, 10.4, 10.5. 9.5 20 apo ndi eyeka yabo na kan nyina na me kire wase se na bosi nyina ni GDP na yeye no na hwan na yeye GDP no hwan na ekofa bai nti sa wo kan sama misramo bidi nyame di misramo eya mama yanhu no kure no ne yanka no kure na no kure shall set you free minya politics asema mika data edamani nti na me kan sa no nti wo mo som no mo ka no bi nam dwoma anapa na radio station bi ni mi din komo na man na wo dwom no se bank aboka ani asama ba na se Bank of Ghana boka asem bi ama e free 2022 ya boka betemne what is that what is o munti mi nya de o mo ye enti sa o mo ye bi ya no ne kasa ya na wuti a eno na mi tie bi me we hoi pa people why say azonto you tu ha ni aso ha yes say the free ni kama nipa ne hu di enti abi koye ye ne koye sa no mini a Agya Kwabena ye to akene na fe ya be so asanu mfimfin the so ni mfimfin o the loss of 60 billion who cost that 10.5 who cost that 9 point something who cost that adentina we be ye bia eno de ye nti mo na okofa bai nti misire wo mo kasa wo ho a me pa wa achew ye de tumi ama wo mo ye niema bi ho a wo kasa wo ho a be circumspect if we say omano it is more than Ghana wo chirewa unko eduma ni kum uko Washington na Washington for abo wan kasa wo ne wo ho nti sa wo kasa na wo kasa ya nipa pese wo bo wo you for kra wo grant ne de bremo e beka ze ngo for kra de o mo keke ne de nti central bank losses so again ne buy
okay.
And I know British Bank of England in 2022 they made loss of 150 billion pounds. They still function as one of the best central banks in the world. No shaking. If he and shaky and more monam krumono, mumma sa in hamukra bank no ojina pumping and then you no can say friend of policy solvent. That's the way you 2020 I'm cocaine. Ukuni be an oho. Or where me passa. So the same people are now saying the same thing in different ways. And then who can be different from 60.8 billion, 15.4 years? So the American say a year figures any central bank issues. No, so you be here and what can be power choke with the Yamidin slow. A young woman said you kind of fun. Now, near Omano, central bank, and near Anqua, ni euro no on Crano Ghana, the dollar no on Crano Ghana. Or grab your Federal Reserves, or grab your Bank of England, or grab your Bundestag. There is Europe before the end. It is all Casano and Casaya, almost one more ambassadors, one more trade attaches, one more economic advisors. It is a more Kabia, Miss Sam. Woman Kay and Casay, Nayan Kanye, the man of money, ye, a cost. It will be 15 now.
Okay.
And Yadia maturity into your man.
All right.
Yadia say about 2 separate from you, but you free and you move free. You free and you move free. Yakwabena. 2027. Almost as I honor so muke. Omanu Gina Yen 2027.
Okay.
The American Gina and the Yakwabena.
Papa.
GDP now. Yet be interest now you this year, last year. Interest need to the pen pencil principal. You bet you have 57 billion 2027. Near 52 billion 2028. Near euro 2.7 billion 2027. Near 2.2 billion 2028. In the Anona, I saw Mummy Agina who say, a canna yababu or Quan Benso and you befa you bet your cano in a Sarani economy. Let's see the no heading. Now results na cost. And no idea. As a Ghana for me started being home. Since Adia, I say, we are yelling, I did my boy, me, I say, no, yeah, now, pitiful.
Doc, yes, I say, I am a fortune quantaya pie. Oh, share said a hoka catia, you bet me at the home, you bet me a share home, so Abraham for yes, shall say.
I have a Uncle do what you. Em said the whole word, Yenny Acopa. Em said, Yenny Greek fools, Argentina for Niaco. Media, and I'm imagining women and Kakra. The American imagining Mammy Mount, Yementia, Mekasa, Jaquabran. Oba, your tax GDP ratio. Jaquabran tax money generating a DTACano. You can say, that's now I can emphasize a behavior. The tax GDP ratio and cost. Said ye, Dr. I told Beton, sanity at 13.8. Apart from Nigeria, and say, Yenny old the lowest. And so you didn't have Gugu by this time, according to IMF for Rabbi. No, because you bedroom 18. A little no one why, come then so, and then Yama baby Bena Massa, a car will be here, Lydia Moyam Bay. And he becomes a Gideano from Kakra, and also a part of it. And I got from Radia back home, kind. Eh, public sector wages. Kwame, for every 100 cedis we collect, according to ATO, 39% any editor public sector wages. We are the 32 debt services. Now, what your principal, now what your public sector wages are. Nigga say, you can't keep capital expenditure project in any problem. Into one here, because he called no court and quencher. Until America say, or more cordial, Nanya make and you be a can't hear me bobbing down with you. A can idea courses was over Yama Bruce Bib. And only Mra as a now she indicators now. Menyesho Senka, me coming good ya. When the woman signed it 3 years, a coming one, woman enter. Yes, a bayatra and chenkakra. Because me who said, she'll be near all the addition and sa, me will be before Bootia. A dear friend is self discipline. Send me Shama Fuaso. No, my year, I'm in Chilimabeton. It may be a default. Would you be able to stop the borrowing? Would you be able to pay the debt? Would you be able to reduce the compensation for public sector when you are employing people are employing like nobody's business? Would you turn the SOEs? Mami fire SOEs ni nyao kwai. Ade will be running government transport. Waboka ni akoto ba samano. Oi o twiri dia o magiska no onya profit. Ade ntini ye nimre. Said the diversity channel here and you maybe to say transport state and young tongue because I never be anywhere VIP any OEM call. Maybe a government transporting and so you see a better buses will come bus and your friends say for buses. Yeah, offer bus now almost your profit. Your profit next year that's support home and so for any more car the car rubber farm. I didn't see the young SOEs, and reduce SOEs, when you strategic SOEs. Strategic SOEs is energy. Ukubuni, you so run government transport, any hotels, nay, near my name maybe I can't hold it as a guy because it doesn't help the state. SOEs, even SOEs of the banks. Some of the banks in SOEs, no, Mother, the least talk about it, the better. And if you are really SOEs, then your money be on point, yet now see a better or more go on, you never be a buy a year of any Cosinco and young ones you 19, you 20, you 21. Because a near man took a quantity them so and could eat. Until a job come out with me, I don't know my thing to the walk.
Doc, I no pay. You better was a papa no woman. Dr. Richmond, the chair henny, and in Indian Commune, or ye economist and Australia banking consultant. No, why ye Jumo bank catch up, or woman a share bank, or no shisha bank for we to. To know why ya chayintino, Udum Dioka, Mancasapa. And see, Yen every day, Yamna studio na, about your father coming sunny and chassis na, yan for mobile so to na, yanko, and no pay, and minifaso pay a set chumesi, a skasemu or baneful. Na yasan wouldn't work classic. Nti obi ofi fa okabra nti fa okabra ne se finance nti ni kuro ni din kura kire ayi fa okabra ne se sikasam aha hona ayi certifi na asan eyekuani na osan edwadi no osan businessman je se ne ma de bebre set akwaba bia boko nyame adumeda kabla de radiasi Ebo Bokman oti ono so ewo benkum so ha na ono so Movement for Change Deputy Communication Director Edema Movement UP former Movement for Change now UP so movement in a change na kra as the be ya no Ebo Akwaba
amajo domunia
bibia boko
nyame na do bibia boko michia anape michia igwafo nyina nkanka oye Omahin Saberima Nonye George oye MC oho ne no na yankufunyina yankufunyina na pemicho bibia
okay onyina dase Dr. no so ayo no nyamfo kufi bente afo oye emrase badwane di ma manfo wo sahwe wi oso abato empesua so no ko emrase badwa muso a wo badwaku ahwe sikasam tetu ho samson no odi mu akotene pa ona abakwa aba na bia boko
What the other room?
They was it.
You
go up, papa.
Come on.
Kakra. And now the chato Ura Alfred Thompson. Alfred Thompson, Eka MPP communication team no. Bibia Besin Kono, now or a deputy managing director at the NIB, National Investment Bank, na also abuse Kasem Mutuchi, Muti, and Nadia, Kasem, a Bobok man also, our financial background, into Nadia, Kasem, the any bit do subupa. After that, Kwaba,
yeah,
Bibia Wako,
Yamiado,
we didn't we.
The
radiasi.
Didn't check a semo.
Good. It has a pa.
So Mo said I will be sanasing.
Who say?
Mo said I will be sanasing.
Misanasipa.
Nam didn't check a sema constituents, Cape Coast for any central region, any all delegates of MPP in Ghana.
Okay.
Moni Ejuma Omoye. Because at the moment, no, the basics, no, putting the basics together, the grassroots. Polling station elections, no, and they've done all the necessary interviews near their Omoye, Money Juma, and I wish them the best of luck because nothing comes easy. Hard work, determination, and focus. And I remember to me winning 2028 elections, no, and we have a good leader. He's shown us that when you are focused, no, you can achieve anything. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, or didn't check a CSO.
Okay. That's it. And I pay my first home na Majano Mumino, me mom tirin kwa. And you ran as of first upon when you feel you see. I see Papa baby will be no. Wawunim. Shirana and the beside the amount, ne bamba idimu, and the beside the amount. Said the Akumatiano, so Musa. Yeniso. I will foot you and want a trinity. And then we can't chira the maya bribia until you run as first upon doc and pay the mountain qua in pa on behalf of Tim Aminomo Juma when the bridge for a shell hanging ano your mountain qua na fe and watching soon and taking a mindset being cancer say mountain qua pa and this was so mountain qua pa and our uniata so on the mammy you were doctor Kwame despite as we say kind of mountain kwa no nuanom awo executive is Legon fitness club for nyina obu nyina so mountain kwa odwuma ye for nyina so mountain kwa nti ewura na so for sapon otirin kwa as usual show boy may you show it means so kra eno achi so ewura twum midwest also nya fie dio son onyane nene nansa nti ewura twum bebi a obi a won so Yakupu shira pa mo hoden na kwatintin sa ubi ho bakasa fe no onya 50 onya 70 years enti me wontirin kwa muntirin kwa kase pa na mnu sese de wote no benyia kwa chiri papa sense wodo wotima amani papa enti yoratwum midwest kwanchira for penny and pay mo achi ema wo entirin kwa ma won kwantintin ene ahoden kantin kan so se men kan cho se o ma won tirin kwasa na fitness for nyina so ma won tirin kwasa as usual show boy may you show and then so mia me kuma na na chumberema on CEO ema Lion Heart Furniture dodo na friend Nana Sibobo na twunya 50 years ne nti nana baby a wo bia no pay ma tirim kwa on behalf of abusha ni nyina abusha penny Victor ani wonu anom ene ya ka nyina ya ma tirim kwa ya nkwa abusha penny rotu me ko a pento kwa chanhwe nti nana twu baby a wo bia no pay me ma tirim kwa pa me ma me ba ko awudo estate o ma meduani di last 3 days oh auntie ona pe me mo ache pa na you twum de no kwa se ochina na church service be koso wadabraka Holy Spirit Cathedral ati brand so you're going to be there anyway yeah say yenko mo twetwe na se na yenko mama sha sem fan free Alfred mo your press conference ama mo penifo na se ne ma bi koso wa ban mu a enhye da enkoyi ene yesi kasam tutuye Bank of Ghana losses mitie ewura kojo ponkroma enra which says I can Bank of Ghana bono it is even more than said here one more canon na no former advisor to the former vice president wono so akasa se nsem bebre afasa nhyehyɛ ne tutue no Owura Fred Thompson, is that the reality on the ground? And now say politics as usual. Send you be back on. Mama, 10 minutes on this.
10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And say my producer database me per se or display so that we go through it and people will get to understand and appreciate their area, you know.
Okay.
Their air cost of Ghana no. Say kakra. And when you call people criminally operational,
when I walk on.
Yeah, whatever. Criminally operational minded people who run a criminal minded economy. Now, even at that time, no, their loss, total loss in 2024 was about 9.4 billion. And now, no, you run an economy loss near 15.63 billion, as you can see on the data now. Then I don't know whether to call it an armed robbery system or an armed robbery run economy. But definitely in such situations, no, instead of people ombeshe in sema wokaye ena dia wokan say yemfa nhye wonsem na wo ba be ye ne yie na wa ye ne yie ma ye nyina ye tumi ya tena se aka say o mu ni edwuma wa ye ade ma ayefe. But you rather give us huge negative equity, as you can see there, no. We'll share equity side now. When you take your total assets from the liabilities now, in 20, and this is a 3-year running. We'll share from 2023, 2024, and 2025. We say in 2023, no, equity was around 65 billion, as we all know. In 2024, no, when you take the liabilities from the assets now, it dropped down to 61 billion. Hoping, say, we are going to run that trajectory. But unfortunately for us, no, the equity it's about 96 billion negative. It tells you, say, there's something not going right. Income from expenses now, say, in 2023, no, the loss was about 13.2 billion. Ubehun say 2024 you reduce it to 9.49 billion. You hope saying even the 13 billion at that time now omoba out back and say this is a criminally run economy. And nyama nyama ensida nyama and all these are from the Bank of Ghana. Now the call majority for our parliament no. We back down to 2025 and now we are talking about 15 billion what do you call it, loss a year running. So you ask yourself what actually went into the 15 billion, but there are other hidden costs. What share other comprehensive income, incomes are other avenues and other area Bank of Ghana kita say ebemna. And no omafanka the main loss of about 15.63 billion and we are 19.32 billion. What share those other losses now? 19 other OCI, no, 19.32 billion, making about 34 billion or 35 billion loss because it's 34.95 billion loss in a year share. But and also in chain, first, 2025, first year, no, you see, they were trying to, and I kept on saying here, say, we are massaging and manipulating and trying to push out figures, and you're natural. We could all do that. And let us see, say, oh, inflation and 3% near there. Okay, one of your MPs. So can I say they were forcing to bring inflation down just to make a name. Say, oh, yeah, the inflation are back to the barest state. Now, how do you do that? You have to buy money, too much money that is roaming in the system. Yes, sir.
Okay, so inflation when artificial.
Oh. Make us.
The name be say that can artificial.
So inflation now almost no. They were, getting money from the system. What government T-bills near there most of the time, we na subscription and do the peaker they were expecting it to get to. And then you go into the system and ask, what is happening? Most banks were waiving their right or their aim of giving out loans interest near a film just to run and make sure they made profits. We share a Bank of Ghana fixed rates near adhere to the banks now. They were hovering over 10%. Meanwhile, no T-bills near adhere to 4%. So it means that they were getting, getting the liquidity from the system, but at what rate? And on ama yako losses so much, no. Until do fourth quarter, no more say man sure mu year. The loss that is going to hit Bank of Ghana, no, at that time, then omokoton yen gold reserves na omobeto ye no. The gold reserves are na omo fipa, President Kufuor fipa, now we increasing for barely 2 or so tons, no, to about 8 plus tons, no, almost 9 tons, no. Hereby, no, we moved it to over 30 tons. They've sold over half of it, just to make sure that they get some income in to massage and make sure that the figures are okay. That alone, they made about 9.57 billion out of it. Inti Osha, like a loss was over 44 billion loss. But because I say omede go no be shame, now omoye as income abem near there no, you keep the loss at the barest minimum. Now, when you look at the net loss, air cost now 13 billion right down to 6, then to about 16, you know, you ask yourself, say, what are we really doing as a financial institution? Are they just trying to create a nice picture within the system at the loss or at what cost to Ghanaians? Because these are the questions I will be saying. If you are making a 19.3 billion loss on OCI, we'll be saying, what is happening? What is going on in the system? It's a scary situation. But people will tell you, oh, you are okay. Yes, we take and accept responsibility, say, in 2022, 2023. And that is why you realize that from 2022 to 2020, there was a massive shift. After the DDP into the system, no, there was a massive shift. And you realize that there was a positive correlation towards making sure that the BOG runs a proper, clean book. Because 2022, no, they had to clean all the books, right from day one, the inception of BOG to date, to the 2022 date, to make sure, say, Sanyama BOG assigning actually books no money na Emma losses na Emma sage to make sure say oh yeah wo ebi abondi da ho ana koko ebi da ho ne ade and once you recoup it no will make so much money, knowing very well say all those documents are na eda ho nyina they were not going to make any income about it. They had to clean it clean, bring everything to a zero notch. And that was the one that created the over 60 billion a year. Now, because almost say, hey, all these were things that you needed to clean your books. So now you come into a system who be someone say, what is going on? You go and sell, you make gold, what do you call it? Gold sales, no? You go and do that with, from saying gold bond. And there are so much massive losses on the sale of the gold. How? That has to go into the books of BOG. BOG na keep it on the books. Okay, when the World Bank brought out the data, say the gold board sale of gold near the end, they are making losses. And they said they don't have any losses in their books. And that BOG had to come in and to share the operating income on the sheet, if you can display it for people to see. It's out of the sale. Total income of about 155%. I'm the cotton in there to make the gold no. In a cover some of the losses are about. When you look at the data, when you go on the operating income breakdown 3 years now, you see the core income stagnant who say in 2023 it was about 8.288% billion. In 2024 8.46, 2025 yeah, 8.46. So it was a straight stagnant. I don't know why his data is not coming well, but it was a straight stagnant. It was driven by the off gold sale in 2025 alone. In a mass staggering and hooping a gap na edahono. The graph shows all those things there. It will be someone say, what is Bank of Ghana really doing? we call operating expenses now. We share OCI. When you go to the next slide, operating expenses, because I don't think you are getting this well. I don't know what is happening to your slides, but let me go on. We call operating expenses now. Open premises, currency issue, other interest, other operating expenses, revaluation losses. Near there, we share the gold deal losses. Near there, gold deal losses near low. No, we share 20 from 2023, about 3. Then you gold deal losses from 6 and goes to 9 billion in 2025 alone. We share OMO cost now. OMO cost no, which you know what it is, the open market operations. We share in 2023 8 billion, 2024 9 billion. Then when you go to 2025 alone, it's about 17 billion. 17, jumping from 9 billion to 17 billion. Until when you look at all these things now, it's not a clear picture. And why? The other question maybe say, I didn't know BOG omo ye we nyina no omo afam beto everybody but the command majority say they should look at it and make sure that they come out with all these press conferences to show say BOG has done this, they've done that, they've made a less loss of 15 billion here there.
But omo the command majority.
And a majority na nekita the whole document no. Have you seen the BOG? Has it come out to you publicly? Till after majority and had they come out to you? Thank you. So it tells you that they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. Let's give it to the people who will talk for us. Let's give it to our PROs and let our PROs handle it. It's the PROs in there.
They are working in me per se yenya ne pomasibre ye hu ne podankasa. Woka bibi sa no asem ntwen na so wi a na me say sa what can be about the refi kakra na bisa say artificial na inflation figures no yeah I'm say inflation no artificial na
how do you curb inflation how do you manage inflation
how do you manage it?
But you know in economics, I bet you say Sikano does work room. One of the ways a Bank of Ghana uses is to mop up liquidity within the system. I catch him. And that is the cost of which we did that. The cost to get inflation at 3%, 5%.
Then
minority number out to Abekacho say they are going to give you the alternative. And I'm buy out in Ganja. So let them come out with the paper. We are doing a whole paper on it. Now I didn't remember Bekacho ahead of time. Then what is the press conference?
Okay.
Because if I come out and give you all the alternatives now, it will tell you say the minority should not even talk.
Okay. Medasi.
Have you landed here? I just wanted to do the last equity trajectory. Now we must say in 2023, the equity was down by minus 9%. In 2024, it grew up to 4%, positive 4%. So it's around 35 billion that side. So it tells you that now we've gone down in the this whole what do you call it? Your friends say equity it's showing a serious negative effect in our books. It's not good.
Okay.
It is not good. And BOG should come out clean.
Okay.
Otherwise, I've stated and I'll state it and I'll end here that this government came into power on lies.
Okay.
It is living with lies.
All right.
And it will go out with lies. And they will get people, they can pay them and they can give them incentives to talk for them. Okay. But it will not work because Ghanaians will know the truth with the facts and figures.
No, Honorable. Yes, sir. Let us say
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. When information on the producers. Color no background no. Na in favor screen no. And until na omutumi. And I'm producer catch. Once a blue no the choice say no hu hwe.
Obetumi aye ni.
Ba say dem hu ni nyina na.
I just say we blue no dey buy no ye hu ni nyina pepe
debit
e do baby wo dey anya hwe
debit for blue no to so
say ahyese no ahyese no hu ya na
we anya one ade man
baby it's only these three but ahyese no
clean for the screen
but even the first page na ye blue but it's still e buy
first page
first page you know first one na e dey share slide na so na ye blue so e buy but don't worry I mean
first page in enu ni
first page in ye blue ni hu nyama no ho you can read
okay how you
financial performance review 2023 2024 2025
so na the bad san ye ye no ye nya no hwe why Mr. Wa so na the bad san no ye so honorable yeah
asana make comedy no senior say Bank of Ghana financials no they akoma
majority
for say I can na me call Google Bank of Ghana was na me boy Bank of Ghana financials for 2025 they me hunu ni some okay figures okay nyina go public
ntina nye se wo mshara de bremo
da bia de nyame na me ka me say ya Google
can I correct you I stated something me say answer na eba out no na omonya of the PROs and groom them on what to say.
But what can so obi say me say benya bia na obi say me
na say me baby amenya me dey all time amoye me nya ka be to me nya figures here say me nya ka be to me nya figures here
ade na se kupo mu no
cool
aje hu statistics
oh yes
na the stage ade na
I had to work on it
majority for akura ye emfa mu de hu hu e dey written TV so me say Google kura say ade na ma hu bi na Yanko Bank of Ghana. Say Bank of Ghana, just lost anyway. Is that my accountant? Me. The problem I have with Bank of Ghana and even central banking is their financial reporting structure. Me what secondary school near me types of banks. They say banks need be commercial banks, it be a central bank. In fact, if you invest to credit, I mean because you're a junior bank. Timi hu say Ghana abere say emrem kra me be universal bank because of specialized banking na yetwa mu na ye hu say bank bi wo he frɛ no central bank ye de na ye know say ye free Ghana nti ato ne din Bank of Ghana na me say secondary school wo mo kyerɛ banks no bia ne na dwuma a wo ye say Bank of Ghana de ne de ne say wo hwɛ bank aka nim nyina so at that level that's what we thought nyini de be hu say Bank of Ghana esan so ye bibi kura aka ho wo mrem na dwuma ne say one just said, no mabo, Yemanu enhuru price stability. One just said, Ghana, ye near Edenia, ye ne, if you are sea manum binum to be dinkitamu. Ghana sika na edenya, a best sanko or mine be diem. Ye sika biboka could di a man on ebinum to the baby diha. One just said, Quenya ye faso as a sign ye sika, a woman on sika monosono, a bay gina ye, a ye exchange rate and so stability. Bank of Ghana won hwe say ye ka ye de ne ho management nyina no obeye ne yie Bank of Ghana hwe say sika ho si ho interest ko se nim say nyumakuo businesses wo mo ye nyuma no wo mo beboa na wo mo nyuma akoso no ji say sika ho besia wo mo je sika nse ho besia ho si ho a wo mo koje besia wo mo tua no so no wo forma wo mo ebetimi eboa wo nyuma na won say banks yaka ni nyina no wo nyuma wo die no so no enkofa oye ne bia emere oman no Bank of Ghana we need to me po say wo koro ho say me ko ye adwuma apɛ mfaso banks aka ni nyina bobo mu din obia na wehu omo the cash ni nam omo pɛ deposit omo pɛ customers am omo loans omo ye we I feel ndura say omo publish omo finances obia compete minyamfaso se Bank of Ghana eye aban adwumaku a aban emano sika faye de ewo se wo ye ntime the Bank of Ghana afi enuduru na yesusu ma hwe ne modern mo a nim se memfa so a obenya na mede ebe susu no de ntia yenka so nkoye adwuma empemfa so mere oman yeah ebere bi etwa mu na Bank of Ghana timinya sika ewo ne nyuma awoye ne binum na me wo bank bia me department I had the course of dealing with them ebi ni say banks ni binum ko ehho chiri wo mo ko jisika wo Bank of Ghana ehho ti na free Bank of Ghana lender of last resort. I was in banking, so banking. How many banks and na ko Bank of Ghana ho say e ko pesika obe ko bank na say ampa e last way ne ba bia that is the time Bank of Ghana because any be din sin kura esi na manya income kakra enti sa Bank of Ghana na omu punish banks pa se wo no omu din sa so na fon so ba and it's their policy their punishment penalty very punitive. What the Sikako Bank of Ghana foreign currency and even the local currency kura na fake omoko kana counterfeit ebemwa you replace we replace this scam what the beba na sign amount do bia fake no times 3 penalty. Who the Sikako Bank of Ghana so what the Sika Airport Bank of Ghana you call deposit no ukwa omunyina won say buy ya bank no na ya bia bank bia wo cage ya cage ya usafo okura e Bank of Ghana so ma me kan ukwa Sika nko boom fele wa kanokre sika bia adu bia fele deposit pombeji accredit o na da duru se ye kan ya frɛ mama wa begina ho ye kan na unya de frɛ shortage one hwe na usika na ode begu ho na ye ma ho deposit slip credit o ne ko kan na so a penalty a wetua we num ye no bia na Bank of Ghana edi nya sika ena ene technology aba efficiency aba your banking system into most of the lines at Bank of Ghana edi nya sa income ni nyina no ko ebi na nse ndi omo ye kese pa ne bonds a omoto Ghana government bonds nti we nse eno so onya interest for eno na eno so friends DDEP ko ba ya ni nyina Bank of Ghana dey twa mu first bank say ye benya income
50%.
Abai no the car Bank of Ghana wo nya fa so abai da bi sa loss kakaka da ba ni nyina ebi efiri ho enti Bank of Ghana nkasa so prepare the financial as me accountant yanko hwe ni income or revenue lines na emu enam adwuma wo so ye de boa oman no enti no aban ebebo no nka fa Bank of Ghana say Minister for Education na ka kire yen say Minister of Education sa komo so be prepare mo financials abeto manim sisi am auditor na me check wo mo na hwe the lines of revenue a wo mo benya na hwe e car aban ana wo mo abo na hwe say dwuma ben e no mo de enti ade over the day say me measure Minister of Education me hwe sika ye de ma mo ene nwumasua mu sunsanso papa mo de abre oman no nti Bank of Ghana let's measure Bank of Ghana won asade ni duty de de ahye no eno ne inflation aban e baaye aye nya minister foforo ene Bank of Ghana government ye ni inflation that's a fine at the end of year 2024 23.8 or something but inflation ko ya go do 54.1 good and ye nyina ehun say kwan be ne fa so a sa inflation no ebe ko fo ye nim etum Ghana ha ya susu ye hunu say ebre bi abanda Ghana penso sika no etwogum sa nti e masika bebre na HSC sika bebre HSC nyoma na kuma na e wo ha no that's the basic elementary level of inflation say sika dodo e pe nyoma kuma bi ato sika no ebe doso wo man ni nti so pese inflation ko for ma de ba kono say sa sika na akodi nkofo botom a sebe ama omo to ade a sebe omo timi tua ebo bia no yenyi sika no firi omo to eno a simple basic economics which say open market operation Bank of Ghana for interest fa de omo sika no e wo omo botom no na interest no nye wo makono nsi hu no e yo makono a omo de sika aba e firi omo botom a too much serious money will not be chasing the few goods and a friend open market operation na sa wo yes ade na interest no e den abetua in fact Bank of Ghana interest mpo de etua no at discount in fact the bills and bonds are issued at discount that now we beto sa Bank of Ghana instrument na e de yes ade na interest no e de amount dada sa interest no si kabe na Bank of Ghana e kunya no de etua sa interest no mom Bank of Ghana e yes no ama ye inflation a free 50 something say ya nam 3.2 ye pensa na ana say ye nya me me mo interest ho ka bia na inflation enko 54 Bank of Ghana na say dia mra e hye no so onye no waye Bank of Ghana say dia bi oni say ye exchange rate this is abanoni sika no o say eba from say the be kra no ma baga na ha ibo enye diani ehun kunsanso nyina Bank of Ghana be any say e wo say timi eboa ni nya reserves when you say Dr. Atoa he can say do baby before I be call IMF reserve just 1.7
yeah
net me kra no for 2 weeks ene ye ka say we have reserve position of 5.7 months of import cover. Say oman no yesi ye nye amanoni sika bia na yesi ye kradio man free aburuchire Ghana osun be nsia betimi atena ni nyina chukura no minister for finance we what the policy about parliament ya approve say wo hye yen akodu say by 2028 no na ye reserve yesika e wo amanani no betimi dia kradio ma osumi edun 15 months of import cover ne target no aguso aye building Bank of Ghana was so 1 year sad. How do you do that? Yeah, Bank of Ghana my phone na go on. E betu ya omaka. Jo mu ye nyina ya banka. They said the three Ministry of Education adwuma for ministry bia adwuma kan. Ni etu ya omaka says ka no e be ko hin. That is where I say as an accountant. On reporting structure na loss the way I'm reporting no I think it was say what is the Ministry of Education about prepare on financial bia ba bonte say o mabokada. Also, abansika ko ho. Enko compare expenditure any income. Any example minister bi aboka. Na mum enam say enye SOE. Wo mo a wo say yo wa banyu bi no ho mo de mra ehye wo mo say wo mo nya mfaso ye ni wo mo. Wo mo de betimi ameja wo mo on that line. It is a Bank of Ghana etwe na dwuma e foka. Area accounting mo no so mo. Ade bi esi wo Ghana afi. Ye exchange rate cedi na ho aye den no. Ye nim. Say accounting mono Bank of Ghana was sika na asset Bank of Ghana sika dey bank mpo dey can asset any sika e wa manoni so we prepare our financials afi no duru na wo ye wo account na wo sika e wa manoni sika mu nyina na wo se wo san wo dane e ba wo local currency because ye Ghana until we report in our local currency cedi enti afi bi etwe mu na so wo $5 billion e wo amanoni sika mu a sabre no na o convert say in fact say dollar o convert to dollar ne ba cedi e be 15 cedis enti books no oh me sika no ye 15 times $5 million bebre me boa say sika na yem fa ne say in 2025 e sonte ene o ye reporter over convert the same amount aba cedis the amount is what the rate is what 10 point something so as a difference you have to write it or your accountant be out OTM so that is what they call the revaluation loss. Enti wenum nyina ye Bank of Ghana ni ma
e sheda anye ka makoko adwuma boka na mo sika no se de na ho de na
yeah amount for ka yes ayen share that is how Bank of Ghana would do say na yete Bank of Ghana in fact yete ye be country foforo ye mom central bank say sia sa no mo so be start ya enti sanko ba se ni dwuma wo die no bibi firi mo aba masika bia ba Bank of Ghana de central bank wo de ya no enti da bia wo sa ban ma nisika
owura Alfred Thompson be kwawie no o say mo ba no mo de atro na da
ma me nkoso na nkra nka me beka me ye
de wo mo ba kwawie
de wo mo kan say yenso ye ka say Bank of Ghana aboka yes so kana Agya Kwabena se me de me ba eko school na me bo no ho katua ne ho school fees ya 1 million mfie miensa obafie na results me ba na okọ nyina me expect say me ba no free school ba omre me sika bi na mfa ntete sa ka no de me hwe free no ho say de me ka so onko ye wo school ho no o de abre me ana onko pe grace emre me se me ba na ohene wa abre me me 1 million no anya so mfa so na ntesa na ohene wa eko no kofa your friends free flight from France
FFF
me anya so emfa so nti de ye kan ye sa abre ne say ampa Bank of Ghana eboka bebre na nso sa kan obo a e wo say e de nsunsanso bi ebre yan any inflation at the time I bought Bank of Ghana negative equity 61 point something billion no what was the rate of inflation in yason fast what was the exchange rate cedi no depreciate ya kwa 17 cedis per dollar in yason fast at that time interest average interest rate 30 something percent in yason nti ade na ye chair Bank of Ghana say ye no na wo di hu sika e ma wo na wo koye wie ni nyina so no ankosi aga no ene na ma ye gina so ka say ene na wa mobra
say emfaso na amana ama so amani pa
good because yan ka say
ye hwe wotie sama o mo kana pe minority na metie Kojo Ponkroma awo sister station bi na ne sama o kana kire say de abana ye ne kire nko eti se mo be dia so na mo tie futu a afi o mo nchen a ebe boa ma mo tu ahye ne mama ne matuma akose de sesi ko na say moto sire ba mo nyem fu nso ntu
afutu ben asema ye asema make o de obi a wo tie me ja ye tie ase ye nim finance ase ye kire hu we afutu ben e na wono obetimi de ama e de aka de ye ka wo ha hu na so wonu afutu pa e na nka e bo ka sabre no na inflation e de na 54% no na exchange rate 17 cedis per dollar no na your debt to GDP e de na 80% onu wonu afutu sabre e na ne obetu nipa na wo betu nufu are you sure say wo qualify say wo tu nufu
okay
de wa ye de ono ode sika sesi a aye wo locus wo sebe nim dia obetumi tu sa Bank of Ghana governor we any minister if wade omaye
all right
and na futo de be kwan
me da se ebo wo so atena se me wo say wa twere sa ma book nu kra ya ye yenkoma ye die wo aya na me kan say ye confuse Ghana for won yema bi ho esan say wotie se do wura Alfred Thompson information na oboboy ena we obobo figures na wie ye no de wie say enye no kore no mo de ba ban mu enye no kore no mo de bu aman no enye no kore so ene sa twa no mo sande akone wo so ye finance person wotie chirichiri mu a e ba ne de doctor etu ahene kan yi na so for ne the reality on the ground dia pa na o emu
yeah as much as my chair or my penny misala and chama tena na mama part and pay opinion na no here na pay me chair on chair sunko na assembly o hoy ho ayende na chichun ho as the spices ayende na mortar not intum na ensese ne oda na membi se wasemo
diche
yen Christian fo yen gezi pa o ma Christian sum ojuna nyi de na adese nyina aye bon na Jesus Christ obebo wi na oje adese nyina nkwa nti nye gezi wonu ma bi nya nkwa yen en gezi nyin nti Jesus Christ no why be there on no wa absorb adese nyina ahia no bon nti can you imagine that Jesus Christ oba bring na o wi no wie yin na ze sa no o wi nyina ntum nje bona na obubu iwu hun atwa makana sa Bank of Ghana damana nsubanite ebra nche Ghana funya abebre se inflation koson na wo exchange rate wo sika wo sid no onye dollar anyankofo do wontem o say na che Ghana economy na abesay ma nzama epesa no Bank of Ghana no ogidam eyini nyina no absorb damazi ni nyina ama Ghana fu nye dam ebren pejado makanaza nti Bank of Ghana FA constitution ma article 183 of the constitution wa kire Ekona Bank of Ghana on bra Bank of Ghana on your profit making organization maybe the honorable Ken on your institution or make profit or institutional or serve as absorber, shock absorber. Or today one our car that say shocks on ya. At tamunuma. Boom. But shocks in the ya at tamuno amunumu dodampa and what the car need you to do. Bigum. Just shocks in the Bank of Ghana. New role playing or a shock absorber. Into prizes are in the man channel boko so or the able to talk him ama awa ekoto azi wo gomu no nzama no bon yaze no mo nzama bi to talk him ama awa ekraze de ebobotone no sikaze bokon onye bebre mo no che de o control o currency no onye o prices or inflation into at any point in time say e pede say the Bank of Ghana why en adwuma ye ya e bona ye hwe the our Bank of Ghana this year even as in a term as a monetary policy as I had to control inflation, to control the exchange rate, ama Ghana for yan wa ha karen inti se bosha any Dr. Trahin Kasam among example there 2022, and that is where I have a problem with MPP for. This is where I have a problem with them. 2022, when MPP was in power, Bank of Ghana and they lost a cover boy on 60.8 billion. 60.8 billion. They want to justify it. There, you bought 60.8, you know, justification or let's say we about 15.3. I would say there's no justification. About something. It's a MP performance to an asset opposition po unyimi. Oba na okadu ho odu ya no na azen on yedam na wasan. Eyi ba okadu ho wanya ne dam. Toba because this as Ghana for today our wado the 2022 no Bank of Ghana book out 60.8 billion. Eyi fuzi yanka hwe. Na so obi abana wa book out 15.6. I say hey, no it means so Ghana da. What kind of opposition is this? The whole thing is that on Abuaka Sepi. So can Bank of Ghana Bokawa? On which there Sikabin on the Bill was on Sabon. No. In fact, yesterday, Sisala wa appreciate when you was in or your cow or Bank of Ghana and the books. Because what currency revaluation now? You starting, you know, or 15 or something. Since I have 11 or so, I have 10. The difference, you know, or a cow, or they want to call them as a cow. A revaluation now. It won't there. As in, because Bank of Ghana account, or cities. On your dollar account. It is sitting here, you sitting appreciate now. You want to yen. There, since a Kranzama. Oh, who said now was an oil cow Bank of Ghana book. Gold reserve as some yekin. Say, yet to gold now. It's a gold, you know, international market, no gold what on dollars.
Yeah.
But yet to cities. But yet to cities are just a dollar when has a top. It's a quarter gold now. What we do in there? Yet to the gold board or to gold if you go for now. Or we use funded forex that open market forex here. One or two funded.
Abochifu yana.
Only Abochifu, the official one. The forex, sorry. Forex bureau rate, no, was about top.
Okay.
Now, tell what the forex reserve forex bureau rate no other ton. Was the that's a Bank of Ghana. One called one book kuma. One to use the same rate. Other will use interbank rate, which is lower than the forex bureau rate. So therefore, accounting costs or by accounting loss in their book. And yet why people one.
Okay.
So gold board waroto or gold if Ghana for minus one we be use forex bureau rate. No was at top. So Bank of Ghana or record the base on the books ma. Until we use forex bureau rate no on foreign record. Interbank rate which is lower than the forex entity down a gap no about the one or by a cost or a loss. So for accounting loss. Because per the accounting system no they can't use the forex bureau rate you know, or they use interbank rate. Into no see a loss to the Bank of Ghana. But that's the look at that. In the open market operation when this government took over, the most important thing they needed to do was to stabilize the economy. Because in the MPP was the economy. Inflation 23.8%. Yes, CD when depreciate time and on baby I think 15 or 16. $1 is got about 15 or 16 cities. So there was a need to stabilize the economy quick. So on the inflation side, you know, what you need to do with the other entice the commercial banks. One is one summer was a man Crawford. Until you entice them, so you give them rate or son. We took now more pop the liquidity for you because you have not supplied enough. Inflation is caused by demand side and supply side. ebe no Ghana your production you're very poor. You need to control the demand side quick. So what they did was that they mop up excess liquidity and they had to entice the commercial banks with higher interest rate or a cow or a loss to the bank. Because as you give them high interest rate, or a loss to you, or yes, one. Yeah, well, why did they do that? They did that because there we control inflation. I'm a quarter as you go, MPP time, what do we be now? A quarter as you go and a pa. And that's a when you be that and the bonus assistant, if you. It's make a one of Subana Beda at Junkobi. Someone, so why in Ghana for the Yambre?
Bank of Ghana. No?
Bank of Ghana. So 1 year in Ghana for bread. It is why is it? You know what fiscal ways because of your policy or your deliberate policy in order to control inflation and also exchange rate, you have to mean something to acquaim. As it to acquaim inflation, you go from the same Ghana statistical service now wasn't MPP time. Watching out inflation figures now. MPP form that there's nothing wrong, and then they turn out inflation. What's inflation they do? 3.2. What's or artificial? What's what kind of opposition is this? Abeni Bay, no cost there. Inflation I go from at a cost. Exchange rate, Ghana city, no wires in at a cost. It is a bit or coffee gas be Ghana for Tasi. Even at the time, MP Probo Damakaon or 60.8 billion. It's not because it's because of the problem at the time. So the bigger the problem, likely they will a cow consider whole. That time when the Ghana problem also. Economic inflation in them baby economy na bazaar. So about the makeaway. Why they? I appreciate what this governor has done. Me, I will say it everywhere. Governor Dr. Isiama na to force the way one manage the economy say one kasa at economics I say at finance I say that's a very objective. They have done better than the previous managers of the economy did. That is why we are where we are. Inti you can come here. Okay. Now I born there. About them go to your profit. It will go to grow. You see, gold no value in the price. And then it's gold in yes, the value of the gold is the price and confuse it auditor. It's more gold and that's at a point the mutuma 20 million for because most we study the marketing Morocco now. Mutuma 20 million for why the mountain? Because say gold is not needed for because of your gold, but because of the monetary value in here gold. It is a marketing a good, less a motor gold dominion for some. Why do we keep gold in? Because you are keeping reserves. Reserves, it's because a person who still no years in is a transfer, not buy in terms of in the form of dollars or so. Who see the no buyers in person, gold in putting the whole because now because they make profit. And more dollars. Do you get the point I'm making? So saying there
price in the bar from so what's saying
yes price before at all.
It's a good manager.
It's a good manager.
In the one course
you say one is profitable. It is no
about for
that's what the Bank of Ghana is doing. So why the bar this opposition is what on good. It's say people for opposition people when here. They oba ya hwe I will show no hey ba na wakado koko na wakado hey one go do so na wakado today no we see about from UP most here your opposition when it is good we say it because you look so stupid there to say there oh was 60.8 billion no ye loss in making 2022 60.8 billion I was ye but Obinisi 15.6 on year. Wabra Onuponezeno was achieve a better inflation rate, a better exchange rate than our was in.
interest rates so can
interest rates so can a better interest rate than wasn't. If all these things have gone on, let's say Ghana, your macroeconomic, your stability, but you have economy for that, you now you can expand the economy through production and productivity. Now, let's say your oppositioner, at least admit there something good is being done. No mum samaba, mutu maye be osin mori.
So be press conference. It's only bar.
Oh, press conference. We have one. You have brought a press conference. Needless press conferences. You have brought one. Offer constructive. You see what they don't do. I'm giving them free advice if they will take. If Ghana phone there, MPP, what you're constructive, what you're objective, as in ya wobaka, on ya wobaka, Ghana football there. This is a changed MPP. Intina Bible, you I can count 2 Corinthians 5. Found this. It's even gone. Also, if anyone is in Christ, is a new creation. Say all things have passed away. Behold, all things are new. It's because as all things are what? Passed away. But then what's the saying?
Sir.
Subana was your power now, no was your positioning. What's the say? So how can you say the all things are passed away? Behold, all things are new. It's no question there. Governor Isiama, Minister, Finance Minister Atuforsen. These two people, they have managed this economy better than Bawumia, Kenofurata, Governor Addison did 8 years under Akufo-Addo, and that is a fact.
Chumesi, what in change? Also, say businessman cracker. And this is same rating as if we need a cacao affect you directly. Oh, share some about Dr. Chia in the Cassin be na who here say, ye tin ye pa, or say, or paman your phone chow. Say some more can be a fast, Casamity to your one. Mombo Sisson Harmonica, a son say, about who do a man who the Quadis Common, no more embassies were. One man see for her, dear Kwabena, or Mutinina, a hunigina. It's a share at the long run, a bear factory. What she said that a kind we have Bokan and we have see for a kind as if we are. Why should we do Boka like
that? Ma, never quenya and chair, Minua, buying for me no more. Now, mentia, Fakabra for maybe do and run and now, yes, spending better to say almost 12 hours between Kumasi to Accra.
Yes. Saying you back was
and spending you do JT. I must say bypass be and now you grow more busy and you know
with the public transport and I would drive it.
There be me I may drive it.
Would drive here and I can forest areas. No, there are good roads there. May spend it just 5 hours from Kumasi to Accra.
Okay.
So one for Kumasi kwano kura. Very terrible. It's very terrible. No, me wanna on him
all through into Kenya. Straight to Accra.
And no, he may be free. Free, no, on so that there's so about him. Now, on so fi Kumasi, so fi Kumasi how much said about bet to do. Baby or connentem, onu ni hokra set it.
Eda, I'm saying, Koma, ye di a young Komo here. If you say the same chrome for Omutibi. Na, my mea or Malata market. Papa or Abosukai. And ne crack in your professor. Our University of Ghana. Yenina, yenya antias yebi. Internet UTV ewo na de ye di nkomo e me say menua honorable Bentel e kire nuoma bi mu a okasa wieye no na waka me nsem anka me beka nyina nanso me ba bi na manka bi de o mu say eja de di kan ne say memfa bibi enye exactly to say omo form NGO say wa form NGO na NGO ni wodwumadie ba ko mienu miensa enan na afeso ni ese NGO fa won tutu ye bra na ordinate to yeba na ne enye nunti ana wote sa dwumakuo no enumom ana wo hwe so abu ne bem ana wabu ne fo a na kamia ye se wanye ne yie nanso sesa dwumadie a ye de hye wonsa a ye se otumi tu sa dwumadie ne so anamon a ensunsuanso sei ena esese yehunu eba na watu anamon sika ne de waje na ensunsuanso ni ho a eho no ye nyina ye ka se waboka me say abrante bi a social media o say mahama odi ye ka awo ya beka se Bank of Ghana odi ye ka Agya Kwabena dey na ye ka first thing 15 and over billion sika kese na yan hwese over 15 billion no ediem ena edi bae en se mpanyimfo akirikire mu antimi nka bebre entuotu aso first one ne say to say o ba Agya ena me nka sa ban school enye nanso ewo basic school no nkofo bebre na do omoma eko international schools bi Agya aban school even though ne bo na nya den nanso akora ni gina ho brofu kro obeka ne se de obeye ne ho no Agya Kwabena difference ni wo enti Agya pagya ne ba me nka aban international school di na ko school papa na akora no obo ne ho modern na oba obeka se school ya am de ni kwa idi maboka waboka se ne sen anka sika ne da mu anka wope nanso wonya nsunsuanso papa bi and nsunsuanso papa ye nya no se de menua mo kan ye se ene inflation figure da bia na ye ba me na me kan inflation pa na maka other African countries ene Ghana bet me agina boot to boot ewo bibia mu chese ye be match bibia in Africa and even better na ye kan mebubo Togo me kan Togo Benin Ivory Coast Burkina Faso na mabisa se ye nu omu nyina ene edi nsawoso na ye nyoma bo ekosuru se ya ede na ye man no ene ye nu omu gina enu omu tumi gina brane ejina. That's the first point. The second point I can say Agya said the bear main contradict myself say my bet na baby asini atie ya in 2022 I can say near ye di edwumadie e wo Bank of Ghana say to aso kwa ne saa obia adwere chirem a wo ma oman ni mu any bank mu no empo emma biem edentia say abra na ye spend by to say 60 and over billion. You see your inflation akwa kodru 54 and over. That same year inflation yes na 54 that o. Agya Kwabena on records me fair me up. On records before say inflation move akwa kodru 54 no. Na 13.9 in January. Na no 20 around 13.9 in January. And 12 months you could do 54. And on a better note and a critical note, not only 54 but 59.1 food inflation. And your food inflation there na you 54, na you 59, almost 60. Na your records. But at that same year, you recorded a loss of over 60 billion. Number two, that year 2022, at the beginning, now your exchange rate was around 6 cedi 35 pesos. Year closing year no, now enam 13.1. On the black market, now enam 15. Now the mandate of central bank no na say so o management nyoma ye no na ye koduru ho Not only that, young trade reserve at the beginning of the year, near reserve and 9.7. Yebe close here now Bank of Ghana all modern and untina 60 and over billion economy. Now reserve rather a decline above from crab drew 5 point something billion. Agya Kwabena near ye kan nyina ne say eba Bank of Ghana odan say oye bibi na anto yi a yenka, and I'll be the first person to say it. But the only thing I bear adwene and say ye be gina baabi say e gina eba ne say ya mama nyina ha na me fanka both NDC MPP. One of the you come one of
NDC. I mean, listen, what MPP has changed its anthem. As a NDC, your new anthem.
One of Ama me pay me went to accept with one of the finest politicians. You see, or can say or can it is so in classroom and okay say we are what I say we opposition we the party ni and now we in fence so we mark all the lines we nya same be and can fast them in 2022 man can count we look at baby and policy rate at January 2022 na policy rate 14.5. Ye be close here. Ye boka 60 and over billion. Near nam 27. Interest rate. Wako bobosia. Lending rate no. Lending rate no. At that same year, okay, the lending rate baby anewo. Ye be the year no was around ye be year na around 35 to 40%. Enti the Bank of Ghana in 2022 oya meba ena me born ho car me kan kire ne say wadi mabro enya say wadi mabro say wa first cash ni bottom nanso empanfo obo ho bra no wodi Ghana wu wodi Ghana bro wa hunu Ghana yie ena ya boka ewo Bank of Ghana ho ya spend sika no because 15.6 billion is kapao and yes ka kitwa but bibi wo ho ya proud of ana last 2 weeks Agya Kwabena na no Kenya spend be say week and o ka say wo ye Ghana ni I don't know idea mframa bi a eboko in Africa few years ago na nia obi ade sheshe ne ho Rwanda. At the conference now, me call a pon conference, you know. Obi anwa ochiao. No one can say, oh, they are hearing good news in Ghana. Even some more company, you may cry no ebu wa me wa Ghana and magni mark me ho so. So when you say good wo, no ekwa bonten and then investor be person obey invest in Ghana. Me must say the level of confidence, you know, e high. Notwithstanding, near here can say Bank of Ghana money 3 million ni there. 3 and above inflation na ye no obi aye better obi cry with deflation obi with negative. Number 2, your interest rate and as a lending rate ababedu governor can say ni aim ni say obi push it to a single digit. Me as a businessman, that is my interest. Say you bedrew into the single digit interest rate. Now, no, and they pushing for industrialization. No. You see, anytime I hear preaching industrialization, oh, you me numa, and then you be numa. Say, me kobo bosia, and you could be a factory. Now, Agya Kwabena me bet you have to 35%. Now, another person or Togo, or bosia, and be a factory, just my next door neighbor. Now, with your interest rate 5%, Agya Kwabena make me not compete. Even at the time I hear preaching after. And by year. So, these are the indicators. Now, we stand the main can be so from the minority side mitie and some of the professors one professor mitie no I'm say now no pa whilst I was on my way na me di ya kakra because o create a caveat be say the only time who say Bank of Ghana and I say Central Bank I say oboka a time when oman no ewo in crisis na Ghana crisis ben ye wom Agya Kwabena maka oha mpembe bre say in 2026 me can say e beji nyame e na oman Ghana e betime agina because what's coming into 2025 whether it was NDC or MPP na the tunnel no it was very dark we share mu a wonhunu ba bia 2025 me respond to senior in a minute say yeah be 2025 by then you enjoy in 2023 free enjoyment because in 2023 yenya sika bam na yentua obi aka in 2024 yenya sika bam yetua kitwa bi in 2025 right beginning in 2025 now you were a huge payment and as you make it on Bosnia na yabo yentua enti na madwene ni say ehin na ebe kwa akofa fi and at the time oh no sika ni wo that is why places like Swame overheads places like Rose na ni nyina no ya hoti because na sika eni ho se na sika ho ene honorable mo ni yandi ni ye se na sika ho and I would say se na sika ho no me wie na o de obetimi akata ba ma me wie
in every Thompson mani wie
sika ho na ye ma pensioners ye ma ordinary worker ye ma a normal person on the street people omo here na Ghana ye wosika ne mo omo komu a all right ye no omo andi ni ye haircut no including Bank of Ghana including some commercial banks aim to mean survive up to today some businesses eguso omo chiro up to today but that is not the trajectory here na here ni say expenditure government Bank of Ghana ainke idea bedru 15.6 does it worth it ehu hia ya the agency near so omo dey deliver some results amayen they can do better near in 2026 and they be 2027 mu say inflation no ye dey free 20 plus 3.8 so that point I be moving so much with the omono can we look at another strategy I be hold there yam push so much number 2 the issue of exchange rate losses a buyer which a big coming personally now ye jisika from foreign bank e da yenye sika no somewhere in April May yenye sika no na ya hedge on the local currency around 15.4 sika ni bedi just going to exchange the money as I say a trauma or no mama approval answer na e be sika no in 3 days no from dollar to CD no because of CD gain no on CD account you lose about 700,000 Ghana cedis. Second tranche buy no you lose about 2.3 million. Agya Kwabena. So the Bank of Ghana all lose on the FX no because say we see the again no and no the cost. Yeah. Say oho ye fa ensem bebre so eba. Right. So in summary ni say near Bank of Ghana aye no why are there with the indicators ye koye nimu no you bet me are better so they should look at it that way. Thank you.
Especially yeah the 2 minutes ebe bobot of hanafi yeah so Thompson now can be
Yeah, I'll come to you. I'll start with his own.
Okay, but me say, Mima Obia 3 minutes.
No problem. Hope I'm 1 minute, but I'll say everything. I'll summarize everything within 1 minute. Let me tell you something, and it should go on record. Say, when you are going to pay your loan, won't change that day I will be to your loan. Now I could pay scar government chest. People should know that and know it straight away. Say every money is built on a daily basis. When your incomes are coming in, you are supposed to put money aside for payment of your loans near their interest near their ahead of time. In Obesha, there are certain loans that we paid before we went out of government. One, stupidity is when. Say MPP is stupid. Stupidity is when. So we should say, my friends say, will interest, will inflation, and rise to 50%, 54% or 53%. Now when you say 1 year, would the inflation ever down to by with using an amount of 8 billion Ghana cedis, and the inflation dropped by 31% to 31%. Inflation drop here, and you used 8 billion to do that. Now Obi I dropped it from 23% to 5% as of last year, no? Showing about 18% drop, or you see 16.3 billion, and no, yes, stupidity. Listen, sometimes no, you argue as people are. My enjoy is the my no, and now because now the back say oh, and then they are come out and say we'll make sure say what's sorting me out. Let us think about the country. Then drink Ghana first. Because everything that goes on affects this country. It affects you and me. Anything affects us. And we've always stated it, that Bank of Ghana is the lender of last resort. Now we can say, in 2022, BOG cleaned his books from beginning to end to that day at Orlando or clean up exercise, no. BOG clean the books. Until when you sit down and come and tell me that in 2022 loss of 60 billion in a loss of I look at you and I laugh because you don't know what you're about.
Okay.
Now let's come to the last graph. Executive summary now. Let's look at it, and that one they can display it into on display chair. Go to operating income and operating expense. Look at 2023. Operating income was 8.73. Operating expense was 21.96. Go to 2024. You realize that operating income went up by 9.4%. Up to 9.4%. Now, 2024, you realize that the expense went down. Operating expense went down. 2025, you increase it to 22.28%, and your expenses shoots up to 37.91%. And you tell me that you've done well. It tells you that the net loss are increasing from 13.2 going down to 9.4 and shooting up to 15.63. Not to mention the 19.32. Now my country say OCI 19.32 I say naka eba into all these losses are omo dey share other mu
I'm share them.
Agya Kwabena, you let me finish my
so they share other you said about your share for better
if you want me to go over it again I'll go over it
so omo dey share when I'm say you ben omo dey share
na say OCI there's a loss of 19.32 billion I say naka omo dey ba net loss mu
omo
dey akoshe OCI. When you add it up, it moves to 34.94 billion. When you take the gold, income, you are talking about 44 billion plus. That is the loss we are looking at. And it's no joke. It's no joke. We are in serious crisis because these are times there are no international challenges. We are not in a global financial crunch. It happened. Go and check. 2022, 2023, there was a global financial crunch. If you don't know, check.
and you are an accountant, you should know that. All these things happen. All the global challenges came in, but still we stood the shocks and we did things well. We are not using 16 billion to just drop inflation within a year,
Doctor,
by 18%. While someone is using 8 billion to drop it by 31%.
Dr. Chahine can say
now when you look at total as mami we may who we are, you can after the 3 months. Let me land on my 3 minutes and ask me every question. If you agree on that, no, just make us don't stop me again. Let me finish with my submission. That's why I say 3 minutes now with the mami we submission. If you have any extra questions, then you bring it up. Now look at this thing, what do you call it? Total assets as against total liabilities. Look at the rise in your liabilities and ask yourself whether realistically, are good for us. And there's no stupidity in that.
No stupidity.
Say MPP are so stupid to think say they have run the economy well. I'll show them where stupidity lies.
Without stupidity.
So when people are talking and they are using the word MPP stupidity, and I'll repeat it till people stop and know how to talk.
Okay.
When we are making arguments, we bring facts and figures. We don't use insults and shout and think that we are on top of the world. We all know how to do it.
Okay.
Who share the net equity? Once I drop rises to 96.3 negative. Yeah. You look at the total liabilities as against your total assets, and you know what I'm talking about. When you look at all these things, 2023 total assets 140.4, total liabilities 205.8. You go to 2024, it went to 215.1. Then it went total liabilities went to 276.4. Then you come to 2025. 237.2. You look at your total liabilities, 333.5. You ask yourself, you think we are heading towards a good a good system or a good bank that is being run? When I have stated and told you categorically that most of your banks in listen, commercial bank in 2024 made a profit of 1.5 billion, 1.55 billion. In 2025, they made a profit of 3.17 billion.
Bank Ben.
Ghana Commercial Bank.
You did to Bank of Ghana.
What I'm talking is it into of Bank of Ghana. I'm giving you a fact.
No, please. People are
when you look at Echo Bank, 2024, they made a profit of 1.82. In 2025, they went to 2.98 billion. When you look at our lending system, you realize that a lot of people, they don't go and take money from the banks. So how did they make their money? They fixed AE from Bank of Ghana, fixed deposits from Bank of Ghana. That gives to only commercial banks. They don't give it to the general public. And that is why you get a T-bill of about 4% and your fixed interest rates are BOG for over 10%. Banks become enticed to rather go and get those deposits or maturities, to make sure that they make money and show in their books that they are not making losses, than to give out loans. Only say over 60% of new loans is going back.
It's not true. There is no crowding out. There is no crowding out in our system now.
So when you are talking about some of these crises now, they are crises that are realistic. They are crises that are we doing the right thing?
Honorable.
I mean, fear same fee baby or do yes sir. In fact, in economics, your kind of friend of crowding out effect. Say a buying a bema interest akosro na wode agisika free for since say interest be form na banks no edisika no amma ankra mo de aye ejuma. Say de koso o Ghana ha no ente sa. Say interest rate sika ko gisika nti hu no wo form treasury. How many people are even buying? In his earlier submission, say Bank of Ghana call out me auction now. If you cry date interest now they can say I will form credit me let me delay interest. Say I will not go into treasury. Rather I will go invest in real sector. And then no say I buy the interest GC can ako. If you say I mean Ghana
ye be free IMF.
I'm sure call pa.
Dear na dey call ICO. You see, the kan nyina menu opinion episode the figures say NDC ba mu. You got mama. Or ya die ye buy no ka say obesisa obereset Ghana no obaye no. And anka interest rate na da 10%. Anka ne the Bank of Ghana ya ye yo. So obaye no. And inflation 5% ya. Anka dey ni omo ye cost spend sika na ya sika free so obaye no na CD e dey koto dollar no ye dey 5 CD and e dey $2 back ma anka ye say was ye bomodian accumulating reserve no nti ade bi amudi jaaye wono aba hye wa gina say tintia mesesam amoma no agina na wotimi aye ade we nyina chi ntimi nka no kura say ewura mama wa ya ade ewura
Ato forcing.
Why the Bank of Ghana Governor Johnson Asema Doctor what ya there na mudi ya ko wie IMF yet Ghana here ato forcing those days no finance committee press conference the oman na dru no moma yenko IMF CEO for economy of Ghana chief executive white your friend say they were joining Kenoverata we will not see yenko IMF ne yenko IMF china yante Gig.
No, John Kuma kind. It's John Kuma who said,
ye deka mama Ghana sebi oja we de penifon fa cha na ma Ghana yes ansani Ghana de kam yentimi ntu aka odu baby no se de hokodan who say ye baye ya mie ni in fact on some of the indicators I am indicated by modern monocra were ahead amene etimi agi atum say IMF no e be free de entia inflation nyoma na say ni nyina economy yesika sema na tetiam pansamuntia na wose ye kofa abrofo no e de ba no sesi a ni nyina agina yi IMF na ka say now omo say Ghana e betimi akoso na emom they are sounding makan bibi wa they are telling us say omo sire yen wo mo kono yen hwe ye na abamboni the past abamboni tuban binum amewurawura yi mu yen san anko bi ne fiscal indiscipline na me friend say Dr. Tuahini me banking college lecturer wa chama de banking college ono so kasa ya de ko wie say 2027 2028 asudia eda aban
yes Ghana na so me ba no
yen hwe ne ye na ansan amfa yen anko
yeah
me say die ye hwehwe agina na doctor say wo hwehwe no yen hwe yen nya na sa kwa it will not come just like that enu nti ye tu ho anamon
okay
because nyoma was ye yen koduru ho no nyina aban edin tutu atukom ebi ni ye international reserve amaka cho say minister not the policy document about me approve Ghana accelerated national reserve accumulation program say consciously but the reserve now up to 15 months of import cover and you do sabre na it means say busumi num kra na say ni sika we fiscal indiscipline aban spending any ade ba kon esan so eye dabia etro off inti minister ibaye we say sepa ye be accumulate arrears and say ministry departments agencies no wo mutimi spend wa abrekura na eni wo mo budget ni ana budget no dey say budget we budget and trust always go enti my budget me ka say me budget ministry approve parliament approve me di 1 million tibon so no na na oboka go ene uko ministry of BB commitment authorization parliament approve budget na da ministry no ansa na wo betumi akodi budget ni musika bia no ade na wo ye no fabra na minister kan tro say yei ehun sika e wo ho ansa enti nyoma ministry no e de agu akwan mu no e ma me ahotoso say sa indiscipline sika 7 to 3 ya ye ntimi eni ehuni a da bia na e de akowie sa no ye de nyoma agu akwan mu aja IMF kodie na nini say ya extended every day mu yenko MF MPP buy look I say the MF NDC dey call ya am o extend afi nyame adom yetim kra achieve ahead of time ama ye ko IMF ni age eno masale portion na me die me warehyɛ mu sɛ ntotua ne anamo a ye fi ase aben nhyehyɛ a ye fi ase a ye de gu akwan mu no se ye kɔ na saa de a se de ye crowd se ye be kɔ na ene empire se ye be san kotu ya saa oye ni no
ebio me da se ebo
yeah
2 minutes IMF I say baby aduri yen hwe se aban bi aba won hyehyɛ ode ba se ne be bitumi abo mesika se matumi agina wo hwe anama o matu so fa bepim sa bere ya wo gidi se ye nam kwan mu a ye kɔ ye rututu ye nan se na kwantufuru tuo ebeboa ma isika se matumi agina
eja mama nka na wahama Ghana ye bia nte amemena meze principle na meze nanto NDC ye bia ntua maka oda mbakasa wa never say NDC ye bi tua maka wa so do business ma attack NDC ayi ko no nka do tua maka obi antua meze me principle na me values na meze na ntina even MPP when MPP was in power menyankofa some of the people na mankasa I was so many years ahead of them in politics manko bia na office da 8 years man fro bia po phone do da mama nyankofa most of them some of them I inspired them into politics man fro kumpo on phone them me hia bibi nson fam da because minyimankasa most mo hwamo ho because of the way I mean them maka yes them na matin to bia nto I didn't say the MPP fear stupid me because of my accounts and finance background I will look stupid. Listen to what I said. I will look stupid to say there when Obi listen Obokau 60 billion you know. Ono ze oye na mo so Obi Obokau 50 na onye. That I said I will look stupid because of my background. I didn't say MPP is stupid. It is Marka Semnes one say Jama or Fajimo when. Mankadam 2. Eja ya chere ekwana that ma losses no be o Bank of Ghana. Ya chere mu de. Se Bank of Ghana you start year na se oye exchange rate no oye 1 cedi equal to 15 cedis. Na se by the time obu the end of the year no changes aboma. Na se what you that say what revaluation currency revaluation to come as a loss in the books of Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
Ono ntra there obi na wa Africa. Ya kaso there say what to gold in na say what on wo Forest Bureau rate. Na say wo recorder. On to for this on recording wo Forest Bureau rate. Oba record no interbank with interbank rate. No so Obama or the loss baba. One of the reasons why a loss happens in the MPP fuyala December alone. December, we employ almost 100 people or Bank of Ghana. Go and check Bank of Ghana, what salary? December alone, December, we lose power when we put our employee to Bank of Ghana. The money per 100 in kosher 1 year now, or banking, one allowance. One salary is a waji, next year, no so on car is one. And so one kasa, I am a true car. Oh, be a better sorry in here, what about it? Figures, you know, they don't lie. And I'm never conjure figures for her. Figures, they don't lie. It's say, Bibi, the more coordinates, and you have no to be called, hey, my bobra. Momban, man, I'm sure. But on the attention, it be some IMF. Yes, IMF is saying, Yaka. The IMF is they can't help you to grow. You see, they can help you to
stabilize,
to consolidate your gains and also to make sure they stabilize economy. You know? But beyond stabilization, what is important? Obama ejuma bomani mu, mbabu nenye ejuma ye, Ghana nasu wenya taxes. Yetumi ya omani ya kunenyi oil production. Now, I can't, and remember there today, I can't some very fantastic issue, and I've said it. It's one issue. Ghana, our interest rate regime is very bad. It doesn't make us competitive. Even though, Asha, Abeni Bay, interest rate, MPP time, was hovering between 35 to 40%. Nti a businessman e pede kobo so banka. Entu ya 35 to 40 is able to ya. Nti no chede wan kasa no business na mpo empede here because how can you make profit and be competitive with that? Abeni be interest rate wa before ma sisala when you say reference rate at 10%. Reference rate in rate banks in Wugina do now what determine one lending rate wa be 10%, which means we can have in Ghana able to margin loan or below 20%. Far better than when MPP was in power. But it still doesn't make us competitive. If you look at sub-region, and if you know, because global world, you can't even look at sub-region alone. China, Germany, because now as they produce Biano or a global one, we produce you or China. Look at China, you had the one competitor in terms of production. Into one interest rate was very low, yes, or still high, until we get to a point where we intentionally create a regime, interest rate regime for certain group of people, exporters, and also import substitution companies. You're on special assignments. We want you to produce these products for export and also for import substitution. We are going to give you a certain rate or lower than the normal rate that is being charged on the market. So you create dama in a special vehicle now. There's a certain producers in this country. They can expand production, they can employ more people, they can pay taxes, government to get more revenue. That's how we build the economy. That's how economic. So we should look beyond the stability, how to expand the economy. Okay. That is why I want to urge this government. I have read this policy, the 24-hour economy policy. I have read it. I'm telling you, if you're able to implement what is in the policy, through it may expand production, this country will be a better place. So I want to urge this government. When you akukudrin, now when implement that 24-hour economy policy because the target is to expand our industrial base and also agriculture base. If you're able to do that, I believe the Ghana will be a better place. So on that note, I want to repeat it that Governor Siamai and Atoforsen have done fantastically well and better than what Bawumia, who ran away from the economy, Konofuata, who has run away from this country, and Addison did together under Akufo-Addo and Bawumia governments.
Yes, Dr. Chuahine can be and then come back now. Say 2027, 2028, you know, a very crucial part the more minor. It's say a hono. And the Babetia interest be say and the capital. A Jacanie, a cana, DDP, or say, DDP, I see it, Yano. I want to say, I want the biggest kaboom, I could chat a DDP. Which she said in MSC Koya. A good Sabrina, young could shake here, my young come back to IMF. Okay. Yeah, Medasi, but my man 2 minutes and 10 your mammy and being few. First one, and I say, Honorable Kenoforiata, Ekai, say Yanko MF on the 10th February 2022. Okay. On the 10th. And we bet me on YouTube. We bet me on city baby. We bet me on so let's take note. Number 2, and I say, Agya Kwabena. Yes, sir. It's not always the case. Say, when him say when the car, with this car at to Hokotia. It hasn't been. In 2022, right from January, I passed say 2022 budget. Now government were fully aware of every liability, including my father's pension. But in December 19th, government can say, on to me, indeed, want to. So it's not like say, these things happened in managing economy. Just said the Ekomuno and Ayankomuye in a very bad way. In 2022, Sanka, Abanda can say, Bank of Ghana almost 60 billion. Now you any head cut to the citizenry. Menjin this Anka Ghana nibi. I remember Miko village and I'm Mibisa Misekovi. Na sa head cut ya munkaya. Papa a pensioner. Kakrawa or there to ne ho ba chiri. Enti Bank of Ghana no amoka no want to me print sika. Na nka problem we nyina mpo ezuntwa. Agya Kwabena, can you believe say in 2022 sika Bank of Ghana e pompe or print be mu
either legally and not no in excess of 44 billion. So yeah, amane na eko mu ni nyina ene de na ye nyina ya bre no in addition no na sika ya pompe awura mu no enya say ye call on the normal way in the normal level and can na ye discussion on Bank of Ghana losses and a Bank of Ghana print sika. You see Senator Thompson make reference say omo use 8 billion at the bring sorry at the far
you see from 54
something up to, but I'm say yeah all the other factors including suspending any payment. You brought a haircut on its own, no? And Senator Thompson, I'm not making reference with not on anything. There'll be no.
State your case.
Yes. No, because you responded to me, I want to respond. Listen. DDEP, haircut on DDEP is the biggest and ever a basic open market operation in reference. Acquire fast chief fiscal. Ye sika free Ghana ni bottom. Ebi CBM na Ghana ebi ayamiaba will be a reference to DDEP. So it wasn't just an 8 billion, that's on paper. But what other means and sika free Ghana ni bottom? That's the haircut was a major. I see here. So that drop wasn't just reference to 8 billion. It was also a reference to the DDEP. Sika ni ho. Yentua usika banks as of anu akoma loan
edukra omo nyesika na omato.
That is the point. Now by then we akoto ade no. Now back to Agya Kwabena. Question I will be say is the question for a whole nation's discussion. Say how do we move from today by reference and now you free mu by August now technically you free mu kra with technical issues and all. See, Bibia and Sisan will move ma. And ma can harder. Say me de na me susu say tema one of our annual celebrations no. Young pickers and pensioners be even if as I see a young crop for cra or more statue. Now you refer to almost say almost the save Ghana in 2022. Na Ghana jina na enyeye so that obia anka me pempo anka me de me ho a anka this statue should be just opposite Flagstaff House and the president be a do basis who ko wuramu a say 2022 is our reference point for this nation. Young kai unu say and now you free in 2022 reference and I'm repeating 2022 say 1st July in 2022 a history Ghana. Your man panyin not from the finance ministry. Ebe declare say we instruct say yanko IMF. On the 4th July, finance minister ebe make a press conference on the IMF. Finance minister all making reference and I don't know number of minutes they take the bookie tickets. But on the 5th, make a conference press conference on the 4th. On the 5th anopa na IMF Ghana 5th and 6th be omo Ghana ready, they were ready waiting for us because not the AC no.
Na say na ya the AC and say dey.
I don't come na yan see here but before even before 1st July in June na nyame fa the currency ono abodo nkuma wa ba beka say yanko say yanko editor be na yedi nkoma na mbisa am say at the point aduma bi ebegu a most often the first person what resign accountant because no hu ade ni nyina da bia ono na team obeko ansa na o marketing officer wako because hu bibi ewom but no gina say yanko even in June no na ede na dream na ede na wan hunu na ye hunu ye na ede na like na ni daso bi na ye hunu ye but o make ye so meaning how it was planned.
Okay.
But that was the quickest time IMF a movie co country be to intervene. The point is You're moving into 2027, 2028. That will be the hardest year.
Yeah.
Ghana, young should prepare for.
Yeah.
Say, you prepare adequately. Say, you more boy we young call with me na sama or for Akabra and a plan. Or two mankania at the time for body or the mankani question name pass. Because any na climate change a man so to the beer. There are certain time of the year in so talk into body anyhow. Now he go and pull body and mankani a shame passing. And no na ya train bro say sinking fund. Say yam do there a certain buffer.
Okay.
Because the bad time for payment is coming. 2. Say yam boy and we ye. Now say some gains may green process with the performance of gold board. No. Yeah resource gold board ye. Na Agya Kwabena anka yentumi fam build some buffer bi. Kakra 2027 say edwini nyina I know honorable finance minister or yena famu there say you bet me squeeze ya hon kakra because yam pass ya bet 2022 biem yam pass dey see on the 19th of December obi am pass obeti biem no ya beti biem
all right DDP
assembly so we prepare enough to absorb all this
medasi we dey na ye ka bibia abaka no foriata say o kan se be kwaya mafa na se kwaya mafa na akokoye okoye wanko na ye nya video no ti ye monitor de okai ti awade fi wa na fe ye ko dum so no so na ye asore.
My colleague Deputy Minister said we are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity. Don't let anybody tell you. Like when Joshua, Caleb, and the 10 others went to spy on the promised land. And only 2 of them came to say that we can do it. And the 10 went around the community murmuring, you can't, We are not people of short sight, you know. And we have to move on. Okay. So let's think of us as who we are, a proud, strong people, the shining star of Africa, and we have the capacity to do what we want to do. If only we can speak that one language and ensure that we burden share in the issues ahead.
We o men sana hene yewra nkane sana hene kanu foreta na sana na yepese muda ho fan no say okana afei honorable yewo 20 minutes your 20 minutes it 1 2 3 4 ntima mo bia 5 na ya dia sorry yanka ne ansam sami anopei mi bie phone lines kakra ebi free Kumasi edweso kasoa dawenya takrade ene mi ahodo chese niema esisa bank kakra so for how far 5 minutes
media can you answer no I know say die free ankasa sisi a enye Ghana ya hoodin say ebetimi a generate na ya produce enyina ma hoodin mekai yura mama ye mampani habrebi na nkane asem eno no de ye de tunidin kura dum so ni nyina ne se na Ghana ni enyinam ahoden dodo a eso de ye hia na nso minim se ansana omampani don mama na abre so sa abre no obefi abaye mu 2016 no na Ghana ye install capacity a free 2000 atwamu 4000 Ghana so yenu sesi akora sesi a na 2020 sesi a yete yen peak demand every 3,500 to 4,100 megabytes sesi a yeka say energy commission Agya to say your installed capacity is around over 5,000 megawatts. That's about 5.6 gigawatts.
Yeah.
Enti say you were nyina ho odin ho sem bia na enye the efire ni say yentimi engenerate na enfie nwatu bi etwa mu a yedura kufa adonum so bedi aban so e kai say nkane asem ya problem bae emi kaka say na die ntina mo say dum so na still yenya capacity I say oh capacity dey ampa sabren kura ni ya fi ase exporto ahode ni bi na wo ma bra so de ye dum siesie ni nyina ne so mo siesie kwan ya fa so ye nkania no ho adwuma no eja se dum so aye de tagi obi otimi eye efiri dum so mu na ode ye kodum siesie mu dia ene esanka yetimi so dum so ano no ena obi nso be wie ne dum siesie na ankanya ne de yaduru ni de nti ameka sa nyina ne se ja ene asema ato ye ne de nkania asem ni ababak de go be 4 days ni a mi ho se mi hu lights out bia akosombo de ye call off yi honkwa me se da na kania no call off akosombo no 25% our quarter of our peak demand call off. Those are the things I mean say a problem ni say distribution mechanism na ye de eche nyinam kania wo Ghana ha no centralized do me ka bia na maka kosi mikrom eja kania yen mikrom so bo akon e ba ho 1992 no preso no aye hu 92 besi na da so wo ho enti se me beduru nkran na ma te say enye generation capacity na emum distribution ada ye ko electricity manager ho no muka nyina ne say because nkania no enam your friend saying yurem ya homa no ba bia fa no nti edu ebuto so a na akọ enrachi me ko electricity managing director office me ne no ye ho nsem nyina ye ko kan ko ye say ampa kofi minim ho pa ma ye adwuma wo muka no si di entia asamen so ketom ho na substation wo no substation no ehwa twam kwa continue ko do boso was e ko do krum esan na chiba central region ye ho kan no substation ehwe dia so dun kwa no nyina enti ade ko se wo faako far away affect a long distance dey enti na yan hwese solution am ehwe no say dum sie dia dey enti na yan timi decentralize supply ni bi friends or friends substations no say aha ehwe ha kakra ama ko sombo sa plants no eco offer they see no a quarter of our demand eco off because of one site and this is for say do see we say a transformer ebio o transformers no so bebre aye dada me krum nkru ewo ho no dodo na mfie nwotwa MPP ba mu ya nye extension nkru no so enti nkru na tretre ni nyina no so no demand any load abegu existing power no so no ewo so na nse me ni omo kokon ha na omo de team eco project for eco me ho 2 weeks aja ba na 2 weeks na otwe me no mkodi ho se we so no nkru 21 pe no mutimi eye ho estimate aye hwe se ye de be ma contract na ye extension meanwhile minkuru ya kobesa hanu over 200 communities omunyina 8 years nkuru no what meanwhile nipa na wakosi ni dawo new side we no on hwe say kania wo they have found ways omo fa kwan binum so yusu kania no enedi binum ntimesere se enye generation dia e dey solution na mepe solution no so no problem bia ni asase su ha problem bia ha bia ni asase so ayese ye di pe ye de adwen ka bom apia anu yi a yenya meme de mate se omo se ye nkania na enam kwaye ni mu no homa no eno no enam se te sa de so omo se eno nko ade a 1992 besi na eno aye problem se akofi manya ahmodin kakra me MP ekwan bia so me ni omo be so problem omo se me kodo a forest for say ye kodo ya homa no ho ama enka na agina so no omo so omo ne ye obi kan omo ba beto me ne ma hin fro
ebo so far how far we area to say me ho de obu nyinam kan wi na maka me de o what is saying any sorry gidi say akoyi a winim say enkoyi nso a winim be 4 minutes
oh I mean area I mean westland some the question on Maka Dumson we don't experience Dumson like the way other areas be between you some 2-3 hours be off on ponye there be were twice in a month
okay
and yeah serious problem yellow area but you see the issue is that say can you say na certain for politics ncho be fine am nyina but them enyim no aman yoku biza no be press conferences here no nto na o ma ye kasa ne nso pade ye kama Ghana for ase there so was it policies is that no ano is be you wonyi but what asa because you can there if you approach issues from nationalistic point of view there nyina no ye Ghana for now we are looking at the issue of availability because sekanye nyu a but beyond availability, we also have a problem with accessibility. There are certain communities that they don't have access to electricity. Others too, they have, but they can't afford. Affordability issue is also there. And reliability. They were lighting or very reliable. Then you there Sandy Eriko Asora and to water and that name of my butcher and upon out to water. But I also about to water and as an officer, so reliable. All these problems, you know, as all house sedation is one. But you see, let me take 3 years, for 3 years. Now, I'm pada Ghana for much for you be trying Ghana for what I say situation in your womb. Until so be able cancer, you know, one can say better say 2024, 2025, and 2026. 3 years I'm from what I mean. 2024, 2025, 2026. 2024, a low shedding in Ghana. MPP one time, a low shedding. The whole of 2024, MPP a low shedding. The highest peak was about, I think, 700 megawatts or so. So we did low shed in 2024. Until now, back at 2024, Obibisa Oye Napo, the Odum Sone, I business for no woman timetable. No, I will be allowed to pay timetable because I was in the fabric. Until 2024, no, we had a problem with low shedding. Oye no Odum so. No so video on paper and check my bomb Ghana for it. Mutu that more produce this on my bomb. Now, upon answer admitted or Odum so. No mum, we would have worried Huejuma. Then we came to 2025. Then this government took over. So this government took over a problem. In Sebakaya, wakade back some few days oil as a fuel oil available to power the quickly President or took Kubi, my chief of staff down no more share a fuel was the Bema light in Ujina. In 2025, we didn't have problems. I just done in them problem but all baby no the canyon wejina do wejina na 2026 ya shall see ye them problem here kanye okwa na waba na minister wa kasam I mean that's seven na mejina do and maka de asama wa kan say ye if the masam ni fi ho na sela ye outages light no ko offer then I will begin to attack him asama kan ni de o say before I being a Kosombo inferno no okade abanda no ejuma bia ncho so do ye wan ye ejuma no den ncho re say yen transform mercy bebre na ebi wo ho a wa ye obsolete ebi wo wa load no obodo no do so sen transform na ho zen nti obana ma nankasa to mo trip off nankasa off obi anfa ne sankan nti dama ejuma na yanye no ose de ye na afi ama dama area se na unye trips no or as not trip off no we tu no one kaje no wejina nti obada wosesa 3000 transformers across the country na transformers so wosesa light boko off because as say ezo kaka anko off na ezo kaka asembesi into dama area na transformer serving na oboko off into wo sha se there worry evidently no echo areas we no was such transformers I really want the boss problem no onu bio into minimum there one onye ekawa yeze IPPC nti no wa chat one supply ayenya kanya two and you fuel to power because already nankasa yes one city bia to ho oil levy na energy levy na what is of force offend dumso levy no what's offend the levy ono is that what there onions may be in him hen until nan say about pada or touch na some of us don't touch it once you don't touch it because as you train na cow people go or IPPC no only there's a bottle of fuel and there's a power yen energy nti the mazina ye hu there on ye e kawa yeze on ye fuel onyo na mom ye ne yenzema ye yes say transformers na ensu abaka ho na asisi ala yin be yeyi akoso mozi yeyi efi ho si say 3000 transformers ni wie na say minister baka kira me there na mu light off bio there light no dundum na minister baka defense store chairman then I will hold him accountable there.
Okay.
As someone kind so on that note, you know, okay. I want to say that Ghana, they invest in Sika. You from Kututu Amuna, among a ginger 97 million liquid tramune. Yeah, a couldn't for the yes, can you be using a year? No, Yama, Uncle Far where Ghana for I would your taxa. One who light that. You know, you got a crocodile who light that Ghana. Yeah. Even when you light, no light no so Gina. You first can show. Okay. Now about boy because you can't talk about industrialization without talking about energy. You need the energy to power your industrialization. You see, that is how I see the whole thing.
So, what to say?
Because the BBN 1 week, BBN a major problem with light.
Okay.
Yes, a major problem with light. Oko say ya even Crawford say omode we eba social media say they see you Ashanti region omu change staff no if something like that probate me as CBB people have their own opinion men what's but minim how but there is a problem with light it will be and that is the situation. Okay. Accra there be a one obeka say ya nanka yehu light of cra is that they be a senior candidate but e mu work Accra ye benya light of issues na but me be say fie no omo say ye aja you see light and as a source of energy aja say you bet me a treaty say a human right and can ye Agya Kwabena me ka say ye mubi say de now ye mubi e di bobo nation ade kan ya me na kan ya we di crazy agum na o peja besi valandam no owura dan mu a peja ne kan ya no sa de ko dem na kire say homework no wanye wo hwe obi a wo hye baabi I light inti especially this week and then Saturday China Monday nkore be tru BC Agya Kwabena ye man kwere enko yusu torchlight candle and if anything at all for the sake of this inquiry for the coming week the ombe can be no we all know ECG inefficient and the omope one of the few organizations are koto beton oboka wa koto wa beton etiachi what's a friend is and dollar call form and all that no still now more enjoying for so baby as will be a type as will be ko check it yenye it came to a point now omoyes ombe decentralize even the collection ama some organizations who make me register now this area who make me akwa kojeje and all that prepaid meters and then in at this time it's still your problem with prepaid meters and postpaid meters Agya Kwabena me akwan to kwan ko baby me ne wa fi na your ko here na because baby I share the consumption of use say bibi a obefu food way bibi a light street light baby and obi say enti ha no doom so ha and I say what is doom so so light abaneko as it can't happen.
It can't happen, yeah.
That's the word. Say it can't happen. And I'm saying, hey, and yeah, baby, free bad day cry wa. If you fuck up brand never. Right. Agya Kwabena, the point is all the policy, the ETI can IMF anchor on light energy. The ETI can adapt performance 24-hour economy. with that light 24-hour economy no enya hwe entumi mpo nye na na do light ni wa na be kwa use bibi if a proper they have me kakra ni say ye beye ni aye audit bi na who there is nothing no hairs bibia nsi na akwaya gidigidi hwem ye wo ha beginning of 2025 any who some containers are minister be kan kire say oh ebi ayira na ya common lines bi will be way and then ya ante ho asem ye nim dey see here whether he wanted to also create something now for to cover up ye nim the point Ghana for including me yes hwehwe say ya pese a light basis
okay let there be light God commanded
say president country say he will fix it in some years ago and now aba yempe excuse there you can get all excuses including the 3,000 transformers here can but here no na me na night o transformers ya je 1 cedi Ghana ni bia complaining here if you use 1 cedi no as a running cost instead here be allocate some portion akora face cost ni ento some gadget transformers be they extended like honorable Kaye asari so keto substation na Agya Kwabena can you believe he said nam papa I want nam papa here national service
I see I know what you
papa pension you I know benzo papa from isi papa do ya aduma isi I want no here national service
I see okay good answer
waba pension 5 years ago
Alfred baby I want to say
how many minutes now woman
more 5 minutes
5 minutes of uninterrupted service thank you one Adam was my idea say mode you can video no buy I had forgotten about that statement and the end they say mode abamu we must say we won't find a good two let it go on record 2022 I've stated categorically say a unique year with all its challenges that came with it until we can say in 2022 do I BBI it's up to you 3 T-bills and government T-bills are government a way of getting money from the systems and Bank of Ghana fixed deposits or more banks no it's a different entity or a different system altogether of raking money from the banks. There are two different things. So my brother has to note it and put it on record. Then the last one is about the 8 billion I spoke about. I think you've spoken about it several times and I keep on stating. Say we are talking about bringing down inflation and spending 8 billion from 53 to 23% and another 16 billion from 23% to 5%. That is far different from any OMOs and other things that have gone on. This was specifically for inflation purposes. Yeah, bring inflation down. So we need to note it and note it well. But nothing will be disturb me from making my submissions. Coming back to the electricity issue. Aban Papa no insem Papa no de buy. One is ECG. Problems he started here no. The first thing I'm taking over from government was to tell Ghanaians say over 10 containers have been missing and stolen and sold at Tema Port. Share containers no. Another terminal Tema. So it's not MPP's issue. The Chi almost started assembly and say, oh, in my friend saying MPP and even 1 megawatt of power and national grid no. When we are taking over, it was about 3,000 something megawatts. When we are leaving power in 2025 or 2024, it was over. Maybe when we took over, it was about 3,774.6 megawatts. If you only have 5,507.145 megawatts, you can get it from Energy Commission if you want to check, and you can also display it for everybody to see. Now. We added some electrification to the systems. We added some power to the systems. So they cannot blame MPP for these short changes. Eba eno na echi party for say na omo Kumasi because Kumasi was rampant no. Omo Kumasi na punkrofo na odi akoshe ho. Na omo causes our problems. Then all of a sudden they decided that they are changing the people over there. 2 days ago me call Kumase no. The light off I was around the figure I say we do honor and shrimp light no go off. And I was wondering what was happening there. Echina Mega is a your doomsday era, which is synonymous to NDC. Every government has come and has they've gone through this, right from a friend saying Rollins, Edeba Akufo, Edeba Tamils. But the time Adumso was serious was in 2015, 2016. And that was where the name Doomso came. Under Nanado, 8 years or 7 years, they kept the power instant. So the 8th year, they had few challenges and they put it back together. Yeah, got transformers near lines near the IBS. Almost a year, a year or pot. It's your way. Well, I am stating it and I'll state it again. NDC believes in lights.
What's up? Transformer ira what?
Oh, now omo who containers are ira what?
Transformers.
Omo container your friends say but the transformers that are in one
transformers are cables.
They were ECG items.
No, transformers.
They were ECG items.
Me kai say enema no say ira na cables.
So transformers was is one buy.
No, this government bought them.
This government bought them when?
Bought them. Oh, the spokesperson for the Ministry of Energy. I said it. No, the spokesperson.
No. Government ECG.
No. You can play the video again. You can play the video because it's public information. The truth must be told.
On behalf.
Thompson, yeah.
They came on lies. They are still living with lies, and they will live with lies.
That is the
your friend saying the pain of the whole party and the formation of the party. Propaganda. You can't talk of us, and people like Batman will buy into it because you come our take. Now I catch and say coca.
Oh. I mean, this is.
Just relax. Pastor. Let's go on. Let's say I go so problem see one. Some say ask. Won't they out say, oh, a Kwabena,
sector minister,
so they are going to put in an investigative body.
Send their normal. Send their normal.
They like tea and biscuits. Okay. So when they are forming committees now and having, because BBC say, oh, you can form a committee, now you can tea and biscuits. But let me tell you, challenges face every government. Challenges come, and how you manage it. And make sure that the people within don't suffer. No, that's what makes you the leader. That's why we should anchor record no being. Say no government in this country about only challenges. The best government in Bo. Time I go for a free power. No, now so yes, I was. I need a friend at by the NDC, and then he's one of the people I'm more praise of Ghana. That is the same thing that will happen one day. They'll praise another one day. Mahama, that was they called the Mahama names. They said Mahama can never be president in this country again. And then it's Mahama be president. Madum Shababu my yetim.
Into where they are so
say and na me say oh says ya there ejina ye 12 midnight na me power call off you. And I pay me any bucket na me dey dware. Usually me shower na say na home.
So exercise.
Me taking it that it's part of life. Because when we are not under NDC, you know their name. And Doomso is synonymous with NDC.
Alfred Thompson, the Kasagris.
I have a video here. Oh yeah, where Roxon, the lawyer Roxon.
Okay,
the spokesperson.
On Kasawaha. Your friend is on my Kasawaha. I'm a Kasentimi. Alfred Thompson, Kofi, Afo, Ebama, NDC, Ebobokman, Ebama UP, and I feel Sechu Messi, on the baby. and on also na dream chile to be boy ebe ye de boy said ebe ye ni ma nyina be to me enko and mama fa obi birthday mama kan no wie na fe nsoro so efia joint adona friend no adade Cotino mame or a student asate achim mo so Tommy Lee o UTV say any Hello FM say omao etiri nkwa ai
let's roll nkwa me mame ada wo bisa na say
auntie
auntie Nancy me nua penny Miss Patience King and they in the 88th birthday.
Hey,
wow. 88 years.
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, former director of International Bank or Bank of Ghana.
Oh, okay. I see.
Retirement.
I see.
We are celebrating 88 years.
I see.
She happens to be my godmother too. It's a wishing of God's love, God's blessings, and God's grace.
Auntie, you're mountain kwa. You're mountain kwa. Where oh, Accra here, my boy. Oh,
Makati Hill.
Makati Hill.
Oh, Bumpire say you do on night lights no go off.
And I would like okay. Until lights or I knew I'm calling you later. I'm not problem. Auntie, your man in Tirinkwa.
The light you know what will be your campaign message?
Your man in Tirinkwa. Let us say
your friends say you people message.
Let us say your man in Tirinkwa now. Once again, Prince, sir, information at the man last no, you bet me I can want some. Despite automobile media na say ye nyina enim say ade ba ko a ye wura no maye so nipa wo Ghana ha ene despite ne mausoleum na oyeye no said ye be ye de betumi asiesie no ni aye ne kama ni aye amana efe na akwa wo de tumi aginti no omu kire se ene se nra Friday no omu eklusu ho no normal maintenance akopim on the 8th nti enra ekopim Friday ebe no despite auto museum ho no you closing down for the public you could see ho aye ho kama na se fia da ebe ye bia aho na be ho difference mi papa de enyam nwanwa kwakwa no asesa ne manaka se ne bi kura ho the teacher kire soro nti no yesere mo asaboko na se bia atuma enyobo apayo yesiesie ho nti by Friday nyakopon adoma na despite auto museum no so no na yase bi no bia so tumi akokohwe na wahu ani so ade e say the cast for kura be begum I don't know there but me na me de madwene ka nti mo nhye no so once again Mr. Neso for support Dr. Neso for support e wawda onya 60 years miura nhira nko a ye nyina e bi se bi the amount and afi Mr. Chum Mr. Chum ya there be Chum second brother Chum Midwest also just 70 years wow 70 so who abakasa for nya 50 hey wo mo ofe pa begin the bon price be twen nyino bebi o mo
and these are people sir wa boa Ghana
sir pa
especially jobs we create am
kwa bebre kwa ya beda mu nyina ase na madam so ase na production team so madam mu nyina ase ase ba kopɛ na me candidate bi ase o man no eye me ya yeti hei wa wo hwe yen eye dia se toto adwene ye ni ye a eye ma yen esenso ebesa ma yen hye no so de ekoso ewo Iran Israel and American temu no enko na wie yo enra Donald Trump asama waka no e kire se wan hwe okono be san start bio Israel say o be start bio enti de be koso Iran ne America ne Israel temu no enko na wie ye meaning say ya moye ho afansie anya ya fie ya nye pe home remedy bi ya hye fie yi a ebe wi ase do ha beba de koso South Africa so ye hu ni nyina tantantan nti de beye ne ebe chichoro man no ne be yi ne nyina be nya so mfaso no etoje minu nyina ebe kan eja bi adomdom yen a dasene ebe hia akra mu nyina